Chapter 68. A man's uproarious laughter rang through the hall, disrupting everyone's train of thought. Tsunade still stood where she was, turning and giving an exasperated look to the Raikage who had thrown his head back to further mock her. Is something I said really so hilarious, eh? Laughter petering off into chuckles, it wipes a fake tear from his eye before nodding. Yuzushio as a major village? Are you insane? It doesn't matter how much influence they have accumulated. Yuzushio or whatever they decide to name themselves is simply too young of a village to even dream of sitting in the same space as our 5 great villages. Across from him, Mei shrugs her shoulders, age really shouldn't be a factor at all. I thought we addressed that. Idly she nodded Gaara's way, who returned the gesture. A shakes his head as Tsunade retakes her seat. The Kyuubi container is an issue all into himself that needs to be handled as far as I'm concerned. Further, the Uzumaki have been wiped off the map once before. Obviously they can't defend themselves, and much less a nation full of citizens. That it had taken the combined efforts of several nations to do so was left unsaid as to that didn't matter. If you couldn't defend yourself from your enemies, you didn't deserve your place in the world. Here Naruto clears his throat, leaning forward to tent his hands in front of his face as he rests his elbows on the tabletop. I'd like to mention, the Uzumaki are very good about learning from past mistakes and making certain corrections to behavior. Besides, here he levels cold eyes towards A. Stealing from us hasn't ended well for anyone, has it? Frowning and considering the boy's words, it goes quiet and Inoki picks up the conversation. Iwa will never recognize Yuzushio anyway. So the debate is dead in the water. Gaara speaks up as Naruto relaxes back in his seat. Old men should consider the world they leave behind for others a bit more, not just their ambitions. Or failures. Watch your mouth, pup. Much like the Raikage, I wouldn't mind putting you in your place if necessary. Inoki wasn't used to these youngsters being so uppity. Even his currently missing granddaughter was a pain in his rear. Something was wrong with this new generation. Naruto snaps a finger to gain Inoki's attention, grin still on his face. How's your granddaughter, by the way? I did send her back alive and in one piece. Didn't even lodge a complaint with your daimyo either, for her unprovoked attack. I really think that should earn at least a small amount of goodwill, shouldn't it? Naruto's grin stretched further. Or is she not worth that? Grumbling as indeed the foolish girl had disobeyed his orders and caused him nothing but headaches because of it. And here was the biggest one, the Uzumaki could cause him nothing but grief if he went to the stone daimyo. Wherever Koratsuchi was now, she better stay lost for the time being. Perhaps I spoke hastily. Giggling, Mei offered Naruto a nod. You certainly have had an eventful few years, haven't you, Naruto-sama? Oh, you don't know the half of it. Clearing his throat, Mifune gains everyone's attention again. It seems that while Yuzushio has in fact gained quite the reputation, which translates into influence and some power, they are still a young nation. Mifune turns to address Naruto. Do you have a rebuttal against this? Naruto nods, relaxed and smiling easily. Sure, we're young and I get that. But we have support from older nations. Spring, formerly Snow, at the top of that list. And we are in talks with 3 of the 5 nations at the moment. We'd like to make it 5 for 5, but old hatreds run deep, it seems. Naruto mentally smirked, lay the fault in diplomacy at the other's feet, not his own. Make it seem like they were the aggressors here. Plus, while yes we were nearly wiped out, the Uzumaki is an old clan. Our knowledge and name still carries a lot of weight even now. One day I'd like a real alliance between all of the nations, not this fake peace we have going at the moment. Mifune's eyes widen, the elder samurai stroking his beard as he thinks about that. No one has considered a true alliance between the villages, much less achieved such a feat. A grumbles, because it's folly, the dream of a delusional child. The villages have been at odds for years and for good reasons. Tsunade is the first to grumble at that, old and outdated reasons perhaps. Times change. Naruto agrees with her and nods her way. Exactly. Times are changing and the measure of power is changing as well. I know you've all seen it. Perhaps it's time for the ninja population to come together, to consider a different path. Mifune raises a hand to stall Naruto before he can begin a full-on speech. Please remember, young Uzumaki, the issue for the moment is the inclusion of the land of Yuzu as a major ninja nation. Turning to the rest of the Kage assembled, Mifune nods to each. Are there any further complaints against this that have merit? Mei and Gaara both shake their heads in the negative, while Tsunade crosses her arms under her bust. I sponsored the brat, of course I'm all for his nation joining ours. A seems to think on it as all eyes turn to him. At the least, he could publicly save some face. I will reiterate that Kumo does not recognize a Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi as anything more than a tool. But, if the majority approves it, then Kumo will as well. All remaining eyes now turn to Inoki, who grumbles and shakes his head. He wanted to be stubborn about this, but realized that doing so would not help him. Plus, agreeing would give himself and a time to put together forces to march on Uzushio, the first chance they got. Taking the shallow kunai wound now wouldn't be so bad. The boy has power and influence in circles well above his station. Just on that alone, Iwa can't truly deny what Yuzu is capable of. I relent and agree to include Uzushio among our number. It'd be the shortest inclusion in history if Inoki had his way. Mifune nods and turns to Naruto to address him directly. With all in agreement, I would like to welcome you, Yuzukage and Uzushio, as the 6th major ninja nation. Naruto bows lightly to Mifune. I appreciate the cooperation, Mifune Dano, and assembled Kage. All that coaching from Koyuki was starting to pay off. Even if explosions could have solved that faster, watching A and Inoki squirm was nice. A however still has something to say, crossing his arms as he grumbles. You're young, you better be ready to put your Ryo where your mouth is. This isn't a game. Naruto turns to address the Raikage again as Tsunade sighs and leans on a balled fist. You're welcome to try me if you'd like. I hear you're pretty fast. Above the assembled Kage and arranged on the observation balcony, the various guards and escorts joined together in talks of their own while their leaders hashed out grievances and upcoming problems. Sasuke and Sakura are quick to greet Kakashi, coming together easily as a former teacher and student group. Sakura was already elbowing him in the ribs as he leaned against the railing. So, Shizune convince you to move yet? There's some really good beachfront and wave you might like if you don't want to come to Yuzu proper. Sighing, Kakashi tried and failed to wave her off. Shizune and I have talked, and we're going to decide on what to do next slowly. Sakura ribs him some more, literal and metaphorically. Oh come on. You know you wanna. Just think, Shizune-senpai in a bikini, daily. That did get Kakashi's attention, but he quickly shook his head. I shall not be tempted. Sasuke nodded to Kankuro as the Sand siblings came to join them. Give it up, Sakura's already decided you're coming, so you're gonna end up with us sooner or later. Temari sidles up next to the broody boy, grinning all the while. Well, if the scarecrow isn't ready, you can always make room for me. I've been meaning to make a trip to Uzushio for a while now. One hand idly adjusting her battle fan, she kept an eye on the Kumo team. That blonde was giving her an odd look she didn't like. Kankuro sighs and leans against the railing next to her. I wish you'd read the room. The last thing anyone here is worried about is your love life. Just saying, I have a move to make is all. Closer than the others, Samui speaks up to the combined group of Konoha, Suna, and Yuzu Ninja. It's odd, but with such powerful figures in their company, is Uzushio really the peaceful nation that it portrays itself as? Sasuke shrugs, turning his head to watch the woman quietly. So far Uzushio hasn't attacked anyone unprovoked. And any retaliation has been just that. Retribution after we had been attacked. On the other side of the Suna group, Akatsuchi of the Iwa group holds up a finger, having a point of his own to make. Does that include the hidden sound as well? The Maelstrom, sorry, your Kage made it his personal mission to eradicate every sound base he could find for a few years. That does not sound like a peaceful leader. Ao had his arms crossed as he leaned against the back wall, trusting Chojuro to watch out for Mei while he subtly checked things with his Byakugan. In the Yuzukage's defense, the hidden sound has attacked every other nation on the planet in some manner. They were a scourge that needed to be eliminated. That the Yuzukage did so on his own was a feat worth recognition and praise. That Uzushio did so without the aid of the other villages will be seen as a mark in their favor. Not against. Darui has a hand to his chin, mind racing as he thinks about that. With that kind of power, however, the question becomes who is really hunting the Jinchuriki? Is it some mystery faction that we all only know about in whispers? Or is it this apparently powerful nation that has risen to power faster than any other nation since Konoha? Something smells rotten here. All of the previous nations had collected the Biju, used them as weapons, to keep the tentative balance between them. Some new nation on the scene and potentially collecting the Biju to tip the scales in their favor? All roads in Darui's mind kept going back to that one conclusion. Sakura's mind is racing as she thinks about the situation on her own, willing to put both Kumo and Iwa in their place while Naruto did so below with their Kage. I think Iwa and Kumo are worried mainly about retribution. Pausing as several conversations paused and silence descended on them, she looked up and focused mainly on the Kumo group. Historically, it was the Uzumaki who provided sealing innovations that every nation on the planet now uses even to this day. All of the techniques that we use to seal away the biju originate from them as well. So thinking that Uzushio has some nefarious plot to use the biju is just easy projection from nations who themselves have done just that. Here Sakura grinned and winked at them, historically speaking of course. As one of the older ninja present, Kakashi coughed once and stood up a bit straighter. If Uzushio is hunting the biju, I have a feeling that their leader certainly wouldn't be here, trying to bring a peaceful resolution to things. Think on it. They haven't expanded past their own borders. Alliances of course not counted. Nor have they resorted to heavy-handed tactics or strong arming to get other nations to comply with them. Chojuro hums at that, leaning over the rail and steadfastly watching his Kage attentively. I'm curious if that means Uzushio can be trusted or not in the end. He knew his Kage trusted them sure, and they were good on their word for helping Kiri when asked. Trust was hard won in their line of work though, and even now, he still had doubts. Akatsuchi shakes his head. Their Kage is a Jinchuriki that holds the most powerful demon in existence, and he is the son of my village's greatest foe. Unfortunately, even if everything he says is true, my village simply will never accept him. The ninja might slowly come around though it was doubtful, but never the citizens. Darui nods his head as well. I have to agree. For Kumo's own reasons, trusting the Uzumaki has a null chance of happening. Sasuke and Sakura both mentally had the same thought, that Kumo liked to experiment on Uzumaki and most likely knew that said clan would raze them to the ground if given the chance. It's Tamare however who joins her brother at the rail with a grin, while thankfully having major alliances between 3 of the remaining great villages does wonders for keeping the peace. She would love to see Iwa continue to push at their borders from here on. Attention returning to the Kage below, Mifune has directed the conversation to the missing biju and what needed to be done to address the situation. Has already turned to Naruto with gleaming eyes. I'm sure you have some thoughts on the matter. You've had some run-ins with Akatsuki. Have you heard anything related to how many Jinchuriki they have at the moment? Unless of course you want to admit that it's you who is collecting them instead. You are the strongest, it should be child's play to subdue the others. I didn't believe that for a second, but best to throw the idea out there and sow some doubt. Naruto chuckles and shakes his head. A full-on fight by any Jinchuriki can level landscapes and change maps. Does anyone really think I could keep such battles quiet if I was collecting them for myself? I knew of course that was impossible. Yujito herself was supposed to self-destruct with a specialized seal in the off chance she was going to be captured. Still, that didn't change that slinging some dirt was always worth it, perhaps, or perhaps you have other means to subdue them. Shrugging it decides to leave it be for the moment. I suppose you're correct however, you wouldn't be able to keep such actions hidden from the entire world. Inoki however has other information to add to the discussion. I don't know, while one of Iwa's Jinchuriki has returned on recall orders, one more has gone missing and no team sent have returned. Plus there's the Sambai to consider as well. Mei nods and decides giving up some information wouldn't be all bad, considering Inoki did so first. Our own Jinchuriki, the 6 Tails, has also gone missing recently. Tsunade chimes in with her own thoughts, ignoring the minor flinch from Mei at the mention of the Sambai earlier. It does sound like someone is in fact collecting the biju. But the question is, for what? The biju themselves at their base level were massive chakra batteries which if harnessed properly, could be used for just about anything conceivable. Naruto hums, keeping the fact that he knew Yujito, Fu, and the Sambai were all with him at the moment. All that energy in one place might be a sign someone is building something. As an expert with seals, that list could be world-ending in its scope. He didn't want to consider what he could do with a biju's worth of chakra inside of an explosive matrix. Gaara nods at that, mind traveling along the same path. What would someone need with all that energy? What could they accomplish? Gaara does turn to Naruto, breaking him out of his thoughts. You're the seal master. Do you have a theory? Naruto did have one. Pain had his own ambition that went with his name. A world that came together in a shared pain of loss and hardship. Akatsuki seems to want them, I'm still unsure why, but someone seems to be supporting the group from behind the scenes. Yes, Naruto knew Iwa and Kumo might be up to something, but he didn't think it was solely them. Someone had to modify those ancient texts, and Akatsuki was gathering all of the biju together for a reason. All that chakra? An ultimate illusion? The threads were starting to come together slowly. Mentally, Inoki grunts and worries that the boy might know what he and A are up to, but decide that that's impossible. No, he was on the wrong track towards someone else. That sat fine with the old man. Of similar thought, A shakes his head slowly. No respectable village would consider ever working with such a group. It's blasphemy, and against what we start for. A cough draws all of their attention. Seeming to grow from the wall sideways, everyone took in what looked like a giant Venus flytrap with both curiosity and confusion. Would someone truly be seeking to interrupt the great Kage here? Now? Foolish. Finishing coming out to his shoulders, the green halves of the plant body of Zetsu opened, revealing the half and half black and white face inside. Giggling, White Zetsu addresses the assembled group. That's an interesting thought coming from the Raikage of all people. Hypocritical to the max, that one. Within moments all of the assembled guards are down and joining their Kage. Seeing this, Zetsu holds up his hands, showing them to be empty. Be at peace, I'm only here as a messenger. Only to talk, to talk. Well, leader wants to talk to you meatbags. Useless, I say. Tsunade stands again, frowning up at the yellow-eyed monstrosity, and why should we humor you or him? This is a closed session, you know. The likes of you aren't welcome. Shrugging, Zetsu frees a box from his robes, before light emits from it and begins to take shape. Welcome or not, we have a duty to perform. That's right, useless meat, shut up and listen. Hologram coming to life, the assembled mass of people were treated to the sight of Pain. He took his time to look between them all, eyes lingering on Naruto, whose gaze hardens before Pain turns finally to Inoki. His voice is loud and clear as he begins to speak. Interesting how quickly the villages forget their dirty pasts. Most of the great villages have called upon my group at one point or another. Each for their own reasons, to perform the jobs deemed too dirty for their own hands. You want to know why I am collecting the Biju? I'll tell you. Here Pain spread his arms wide, face still carefully neutral. This piece the villages have built is fake, a thin sheet pulled thin over a mountain of corpses. Mei turns to look at the older Kage, seeing some form of shame or irritation on all of their faces. I need to be brought to speed. I was under the impression that we all considered Akatsuki as a terrorist organization. Pain nods, indeed we are. But is not one's terrorist another's freedom fighter? However, things have not changed. Pain turns to stare at Naruto. Someone has been working, quietly at first, but now loudly. A different path, towards a true peace, not based on proxy wars and clandestine operations behind national borders. No sacrifice of children for entertainment or prestige. Pain turns away from Naruto then, returning to the other Kage. I once believed in such a peace, but had deemed it impossible. So I had begun to collect the Biju in order to build a grand weapon. Something to remind the world over the true terror of war and death. Slams a fist down on the table, rattling the large stone construction. So you admit to everything then? Why should we sit and listen to you then? Pain holds up a single hand, to which Naruto tenses slightly, before reminding himself that this is just a hologram. For now, I wish to come before you to admit that Akatsuki is halting its operations for now. Because someone has challenged us on the basis that real peace is attainable, we shall sit back and watch. I believe you shall tear yourselves apart without my aid. But, if he is correct, then men like me will no longer be needed in this world. Naruto grunted but kept his eyes locked on the older Rinnegan user. So you're going to sit back on the hopes we self-destruct, huh? How benevolent of you. Pain locked eyes with him, noting Naruto's blue eyes with a frown. I told you once. This world may just show you that my path is the correct one. The only path. Peace is possible for us without bloodshed. Pain smiles. While Iwa had asked us for a favor, we'll be putting that on hold for now as well. Spreading his arms out and seeing everyone but the Kage tense, Pain decides this would be much more enjoyable. Don't worry. I will happily crush your villages one by one if you choose to challenge me. Stands, chair sliding back with the force of his movement. Akatsuki is just a collection of failures. The might of the Kage would wipe your little group from existence easily. Mei doesn't like agreeing with the Raikage, but does acknowledge that in this he isn't wrong. Why should we worry about you? Your threat seems very minimal to us. Pain shrugs, hands lowering slowly. You'll just have to continue on your current path to find out for yourselves. He turns once more to Naruto, and bows with a smirk on his face. I with you luck, young Yuzukage. You're going to need it. Voice fading away as the hologram vanishes, Zetsu is left alone to giggle. Oh, what fun, what fun. I'm sure you lot can figure it out what comes next. Beginning to sink into the wall, White Zetsu gives them all a jaunty wave. Black Zetsu isn't having it, you'll all burn one day, you can't help but murder one another after all. I look forward to it. Finishing sinking into the wall, the assembled group is left in silence. Silence that is ruined by Naruto turning to face Inoki head-on. So, you've got ties with Akatsuki then? Wanna explain? Crossing his arms, Inoki huffs and turns up his nose. I don't have anything to answer for. Especially to the likes of you and your accursed blood. Clearing his throat, Mifune tries to steer things away from what could become a conflict. With this admission from Akatsuki, we now know what has been happening to the Jinchuriki. This now raises the question, what happens next? If they are being honest. Tsunade's reply is near instant and she gains everyone's attention, and it's a big if. That means the largest issue is in fact what we can do to lower tensions among our nations. Zetsu, or half of him at least, is correct. We're likely to tear each other apart at this rate. Gaara agrees with that assessment as well. Suna has no grief involving the other nations. Having recently been used and betrayed by Sound, we've been endeavoring to reform ourselves. Especially for our misdeeds against Konoha. Mei sighs as she nods along. My own village's history is a long and bloody one. That takes time to wash clean, but it'll never fade. We won't run from who we used to be, but we joined with Yuzu after all in order to show the world we wish to be better. Naruto nods to her. Well, I certainly believe in you. Of course you do, brat, they're helping you. A's voice cuts through the moment and all eyes turn to him. Crossing his own arms, he considers what to say. Kuma will continue to keep to itself for now. We will not antagonize Yuzushio, but we aren't welcoming you yet either. Prove yourselves, and I may just change my mind. A's eye hardened as he looked at Naruto specifically. I need to see your grit as a man. You understand? Naruto is grinning as he leans forward to match A's gaze. I'll happily meet up with you so we can hash things out. Man to man. You've got no chance, boy, but you're welcome to waste the effort. A nods resolutely once as around them their guards all slowly return to the balcony and out of the way now that the intruders were gone. Inoki grumbles and adjusts himself on his cushion. This is also pointless. Yuzushio being one of us means nothing. Not until they prove that they actually want to work towards peace. Something they claim they desire. Inoki points a thumb towards Tsunade. Just like the Leaf Village, Yuzushio could be an iron fist wrapped in silk. No different from the rest of us. Shrugging it off, Naruto could see that apparently he had rattled the old men. You're the one who seems set on provoking us. Keep it up, you'll find out what Yuzushio is willing to do to protect themselves. Tsunade sighs as she turns to the boy who she had a feeling was 2 steps away from enacting violence. Careful, Gaki, there's no reason to rile up the Tsuchikage. It's just old man bluster. The old man needs to lighten up some. I'm not gonna do anything to him. Naruto winks at her, before relaxing back in his seat. Kids these days. You impertinent little snot. Back in my time we respected our having rushed to his feet to shake his fist at Naruto, he was now holding his back while doubled over. Aya, curse these old bones. Giggling and shaking her head, Mei is all smiles as the mood relaxes a tad. Perhaps Lord Tsuchikage should take some advice and relax some. Being so energetic isn't good for you. Looking around the table, Mifune nods slowly. For now, it seems that things are on a good track. The issue of Yuzushio is resolved, so now it's just a question of what goes on from here? Tsunade raises a hand, calmly standing once again as all eyes turn to her. I would love to see further and complete participation of all of the villages in the Chunin exam program. Perhaps even some information exchanges. Like that Pain bastard said, if we stick to what we've done up till now, we're just going to tear each other apart. We should be working towards building trust between each other. Gaara agrees first. Suna has no complaints about this and would be happy to up our participation in the exams. What information would the villages be sharing with one another? Mei's question has everyone thinking. What was on the table here? Techniques? Training? A is still grumbling. Sounds like Konoha wants to skim information from the rest of us. What I want is for us to actually work towards moving things towards a more peaceful route. Tsunade sighed and shook her head. Think on it. As times become more peaceful, our economies have to change. Look at Yuzushio, while their military is growing and a good portion of their economy is coming from missions, much like ours. A larger portion is technological exports. Naruto holds up a finger with the largest shit-eating grin he could muster at the moment. Those trains weren't cheap to set up, but now every country linked with them can't live without them. Hot spring, frost, rice. Koyuki wanted to add the lands of fire and wind to the network soon as well if her eventual negotiations with the Fire Lord went well. Tsunade nods and continues, Konoha has medical tech and knowledge that we would have no issues sharing. Technology geared more towards civilian life, especially staples like farming. Everyone seems to think about that, murmurs break out, while Naruto snaps his fingers. I'm sure it would take some convincing, but Yuzu wouldn't mind a technological exchange. If Yuzu had to lose out a little to start foisting off creature comforts on the rest of the world, so be it. Who wanted to fight when a vacation was a few ryo and a day's travel away? Gaara grins as he turns to look at Naruto, hopefully that means Suna might be able to purchase a few of those airships of yours. They are rather impressive. The idea of making travel between the Wind Country villages easier was too good to pass up. Mei has her own thoughts on the matter now that it has come up. Transportation improvements would be essential to an island nation like hers. Airships or just ships in general would be a boon for my people. It didn't help that most likely some of those ships would be built by the very clan she couldn't convince to stay within her borders. But, Kiri and Yuzu were allies. That eased the sting a bit. Interest peaked, I sat a bit straighter. Airships, huh? Kumo could benefit from such tech. Not having to traverse up and down mountains to reach the village would be nice. Of course, theft of engineering plans was always on the table. Inoki grumbles, firmly against it all. New technology isn't necessary. It'll make you soft. Rolling her eyes, Tsunade sighs, what do you say, is this a suitable plan for now? Something temporary until we come up with some concrete ideas? Most eyes turned to A, knowing Inoki wasn't going to answer right away. The Raikage sat and thought about it for a moment, considering his own plans before nodding in agreement in the end. So long as each village can opt out of the information exchange if they so wish, I can agree to this. Naruto nods, that works for me. Mei hums, I hope no one opts out, this sounds like a good first step. Still all grumbles, but seeing no one changing their minds, Inoki finally relaxes back with a heavy sigh. Fine. Maintaining peace through the great nations is what is most important for now. Not that I consider Uzushio one of our number just yet. Inoki takes a moment to point a finger at a smiling Naruto. Be warned, son of the Flash. One wrong move from you or your people and Iwa will be there to crush you. Oh, don't worry, old man, I've got a V3 with your name on it. Just try me. Tsunade again sighs heavily and turns to Mei, we really should send the men outside to beat the snot out of each other. She turns to address the so far quiet and very polite Kazekage, Gaara, don't you dare turn out like them. Meatheads, don't make it far in life. Gaara nods with a grin as Naruto rages at Tsunade instead, I promise I won't start their bad habits. Mei shakes her head, watching the loud blonde banter with Tsunade, I don't know, it's rather exciting isn't it? Pausing to turn and wink at her, Naruto gives her a thumbs up, there's always something exciting with me around. If I was a dozen years younger I would do something you pup. Inoki's reply was near instant and had Naruto turning his way next. Waving him off, Naruto groans, if that's your mindset you should retire then. Put someone in change who'll fight me. You uppity brat. Why I act dash interrupted in his ranting again, Inoki doubles over, Akatsuchi. Chuckling as the young man comes down to help his grandfather, Mifune turns to address the rest of the leaders, it seems that all relevant issues have been dealt with for now. Shall we call an end to this summit? Unless someone has something to add of course. Naruto raises a hand, turning directly to the Raikage. I only have one question. Just one. A nods while raising an eyebrow at the kid. Why did it seem like his demeanor was suddenly very different? Make it quick, the journey home is long. Sure. Grin turning feral, Naruto keeps a firm gaze on the older and larger man, tell me. Orochimaru was operating in your country as well. I was hunting him because he had been experimenting on the remnants of my clan. But the base was already raided when my people got there. You wouldn't happen to know anything about the Uzumaki that were there, would you? A little lie, but not completely. Naruto had been hunting Orochimaru and his bases because he wanted to wipe him off the map. Finding and saving the Uzumaki was a nice and very serious bonus. He hadn't learned about the group until after he had found and started battle with Orochimaru after all. Shaking his head, I understood now. I know nothing of the sort. My operatives did find the base, but it was a burned-out husk when we arrived. We left it be. Must have just missed your own team. Naruto nods, must have been a bad rumor I heard then. My mistake. I withdraw my question. I'm going to gut him. Woohoo. Finally some real violence from you. Don't egg me on, it's really hard to keep this in. I know. Kurama sighed before knocking a fist on the simulated ground under him, like you said. Be patient. You'll have your chance. You scattered your clones, yes? Yeah, Anoki and A both have seals on them now. Mifyun looked around and noticed that no one else seemed to want to bring anything up, so stood slowly to address all assembled. That will be the end of it then. This ends the Kage Summit and the introduction of the 6th Great Kage. Mifyun bows to all assembled before being escorted away by several of his samurai. This left the Kage to stand and make preparations to leave themselves, their respective guards returning to their sides quietly. A is the first to leave, strong strides forcing those with him to almost half-jog to keep up. Behind him Samui watches the Uzushio group quietly, something unspoken there as her eyes trail Naruto before she turns to leave with her team. Naruto catches her eye for a moment and wonders at what she wants. Behind her the red-head, Karui, stares him down with not quiet hostility, but not a friendly look either. Winking at her and getting a scoff in return, he could tell she was an Uzumaki of blood. But most likely just blood. There was no love there. Leaving, Karui grumbles and turns fully away from the Uzukage. He gives me the creeps. Is he really that powerful? Omoi nods, deep in thought. I think you worry too much. Perhaps he's interested in you? As if I'd bite my own tongue off. She really, truly wanted nothing to do with the Uzumaki. Past or present? Omoi shakes his head, thoughts already racing. Well, think about it. It would smooth political issues between our villages if he was. Maybe you'll get married off. But then you would have kids with a real Uzumaki. Which would thicken their blood and maybe gain some of their traits. Which would give Kumo our dreamed super soldiers, born from the union of you and Dash. He stopped in his rambling as Karui smacked him in the back of his head, hard. Fist clenched, Karui leaned in to whisper harshly to the overthinking man, keep it up, I'll gut you in your sleep. Sighing and shaking her head, Samui wishes things could be simple just once. Knock it off, it's a long way back to Kumo after all. No reason to fight the whole way. Which they would if left alone. She knew that well enough. Having snuck her way next to the explosive blonde, Mei was poking a well-manicured finger into his chest while he chuckled nervously. You know, you haven't visited me once in Kiri. A woman might think she was unwanted at this rate. I've been meaning to, but events have kept me busy is all. Nothing more. Naruto nodded quickly at the auburn-haired woman. Just as luck, he might have to take Hinata to task for egging the Mizukage on. How about I come visit after this? I feel like you aren't being very fair. You have time for everyone else except for little Omi? Naruto wanted to dispute that, because there was absolutely nothing that was little about this bombshell of a woman, but held his tongue. How about I give you a ride? Seeing her eyebrows skyrocket and hearing a gasp or two, Naruto raised his hands quickly and waved them back and forth. On the airship, the airship. We can chat on the return trip and you can take a ship back to Kiri from Uzushio. Oh, how very delightful. I'd love that. Mei snapped her fingers as Ao and Chojuro came up to her shoulders. We will be joining the Uzushio party on our return trip. Ao sighed but nodded, yes, Mizukage-sama. Tsunade butted her way in, Sakura having nabbed Kakashi and were already walking away with him, and just where is my invite, Hagaki? Rolling his eyes and turning to see Gaara and his siblings just behind Tsunade, Naruto waved a hand towards the hallway that would take them outside. How about I just bring everyone back to Uzushio? We have enough to talk about after all. Naruto was grinning as he leaned to the side and saw Inoki being carried away. How about it, old man? Wanna visit Uzushio? Leave me alone, you brat. Only way I'll trust being on the same vessel as you is if the world is on fire. Everyone in the Kiri, Yuzu, Suna, and Konoha group watched the Iwagakure assembly leave, each in their own thoughts about the old man and his demeanor. Sasuke is next to Naruto, grunting and crossing his arms over his chest. Think he's going to be a problem? Naruto shrugs, most likely. Kakashi tried and failed to remove Sakura from his arm as she tried, again, to convince him to come to Uzushio with Shizune. Considering the history between Iwa and your father, it's almost assured that he is going to be a problem. Naruto grins, well, I have something for A and Inoki both. I'm not worried at all. Sasuke sighed, knowing good and well that Naruto did in fact have something planned for both Elder Kage. Please don't overdo it. No promises. Gaara chuckled, coming up to join them while his siblings flanked him. I wouldn't mind a visit to Uzushio. We have the time. Plus I have something to talk about with you anyway. He could already feel Temari's stare on his back. Meddlesome woman. Tsunade starts to walk alongside Naruto as they make for the entrance. So long as you drop us off in Konoha, I'm all good. We have no reason to go all the way to Uzushio. Naruto hummed in response, and Tsunade slung an arm over his shoulder. I mean it, no kidnapping me. I've got enough going on back home. Another hum, and the hold became a headlock. You brat, you can't take me to Uzushio just to screw with my counsel. Sakura sighed, looking back as Naruto didn't seem to fight at all as he slowly turned blue. Sensei, he could answer if you didn't suffocate him. Blinking, Tsunade looked down to the young man bent over and stuffed under one of her arms and face first into her breast. Can't be, he's not struggling at all. Naruto held up a thumbs up, and that sent up alarm bells in her head, and she quickly let him go. Maybe you did take after Jiraiya a little too much. I nearly died a warrior's death. Catching his breath, Naruto bounced away from Tsunade. You ogre woman. I'm a Kage now, you can't manhandle me like that. You're a big boy, you can take it. Tsunade grinned and hooked a thumb towards Mei. He wanted to make her life hell, did he? Two could play at that. I'm sure you wouldn't complain if Mei did it. Blushing, Mei put her hands to her cheeks, shaking her head back and forth. Why I could never. So scandalous. At least, in front of people. Now behind closed doors? Naruto didn't miss a beat however. Well of course, she's actually young and hot. You're the one under a gen dash. He just barely saw the fist rocketing towards his face, but was able to dance away. Oh come on Bachan. Usually you would have laid me out by now. You've gotten slow. Chasing after the infuriating blonde, Tsunade held up a fist while tossing her hat to Guy. Come back here you little ingrate. Take your lumps. Sasuke sighed as Gaara came up next to them. These are our Kage, right? Gaara chuckled. Would it help if I used my sand to hold them? You really want to get in between that? They both watched as Tsunade finally got a hold of Naruto, hurling him away to bounce off several pillars. Really? Gaara sighed, perhaps not. It was going to be an interesting ride back to Uzushio at the least. Scene change. Toby considered his luck recently. Getting dragged what felt like all over the elemental nations, before finding a port town. Making way to Kiri to find the Sanbai only to get shipwrecked, and then being rescued because of a freak accident and now finally in the land of water. It had been a wild ride. However, the source of his bad luck, at least to him, just couldn't seem to leave him alone. Why do you follow Toby? Did you develop a crush on Toby? Kuratsuchi shook her head as they walked along on a dirt road, steadfastly following along behind the orange-masked man as he reminded her, again, that she was not leading this time. No way. I just. You know, you said you would help me with my thing, so I'm helping you with your thing. Toby doesn't remember that. You must have imagined it. You should go away and figure yourself out. He was not in the mood to deal with any more bad luck from this woman. Who the hell started a fire just by sneezing? Who got lost inside a room with only one exit and no windows? But, you said it. I heard you. What kind of man are you? The horrible kind. Toby had no problem admitting that. He wanted to burn the world to the ground after all. Being seen as a nice guy wasn't high on his list of things he wanted lately. Besides, stick with me and something bad might happen to you. Crossing her arms again, Kuratsuchi smirked, so you really do want to do something dastardly with my womanly body. You finally come clean. It was fun to poke at him, he was pretty easy to rile up. Said man grumbled as they came upon a large lake that emptied out into the sea. I do not, in fact, want to do a damned thing to you. Reaching out with his senses, Toby tried to locate the Sanbai's hiding spot. His information had pegged this specific island as the resting place of the reformed Biju. Kuratsuchi giggled as the man paused and seemed to be concentrating hard on something. So she let him be. Instead, she looked around the area they found themselves in. Heavy with mists as the land's name suggested, she could appreciate the cool weather at least as the evening began to set in. The sun finally finished setting. Though she couldn't help but feel like the longer they stood there, the more frustrated Toby became. Having some trouble there? Are we lost? We aren't lost, I'm searching for something. Something that was not currently here. And no matter how far he stretched his senses, he couldn't pick up a trace of it. Was his information wrong? Well, what are you looking for anyway? Maybe I can help. Sighing, Toby waves a hand out to the sea. Unless you know the location of a giant multi-tailed turtle, I don't know how much help you will be. Kuratsuchi thought about that while Toby wandered off while huffing under his breath. From his description, something did tickle in the back of her mind, and with a snap she raised her hand. Oh, like the thing I saw off the coast of one of the Uzushio Islands? Pausing and blinking behind his mask, Toby decided that there was no way her luck was that good. There was no way that his luck was that bad. This infuriating woman had seen the sambai? And hadn't said anything? Well, he hadn't exactly told her that he was hunting it after all, had he? You. What? Kuratsuchi nodded. Yeah. When we were on the boat after being rescued, I saw a huge dark shape in the water with 3 tails. Or maybe it was 3 heads. Now that I think about it, Kuratsuchi paused as suddenly she could see very clearing a spinning red eye behind that mask. I know I joked about it, but I will kill you if you try anything. You clearing saw something with 3 tails? Watching Kuratsuchi nod, Toby sighed and turned to begin trudging back to Kiri, without a word. Was it karma? Had he done something horrible in a past life to deserve this? No. He blamed Kakashi for this. Jogging to catch up, Kuratsuchi was more than a little curious. Everything okay there, buddy? Where are we going now? What are you hunting anyway? Doesn't matter, we're going to Uzushio. Oh yay. Does that mean you'll help me? Yes. Anything to be rid of you faster. Oh, don't say that, I think you're warming up to me. Kuratsuchi giggled as Toby continued to grumble under his breath. This guy really needed to lighten up more. But at least they were headed to Uzushio now. That Yuzukage better be prepared for the fight of his life. Scene change. Lounging about on a couch on the observation deck of the airship, Naruto contemplates what he was going to do next as night has fallen. Sipping on a drink while his free hand stroked through Hinata's hair as she slept with her head in his lap, he wondered about how long it would take for the Raikage to return to his village. He had patience, but not that much after all. Across from him a surly-looking Tsunade dropped down on the couch on the other side of a messy low table he had been using earlier, a large bottle of sake placed down between them on the waiting table that currently held paperwork. Sighing, Naruto gave a bored look to the old woman. Really? Shaking her head and pouring herself a glass, Tsunade grins as she reached forward and refills his own. Not a word, it's been a long day and we have more to talk about. Oh? Like what? Things have been pretty calm between us, haven't they? Ino and Hinata still make regular monthly visits as well, don't they? Oh sure. Except the one person who needs to come and visit from time to time. You gallivant all over the world, saving princesses and destroying bad guys, but what about me? Left and forgotten, that's what. Taking a sip and relaxing back, Tsunade let herself relax with this young man. Please don't take after Jiraiya too much. Love him, but he's an idiot through and through. Oh ho, so you finally admitted, do you? Say a word and I'll skin you alive. I like my skin where it is, thank you. Good. Tsunade is back to grinning. Besides, someone has been stirring up the hornet's nest. The Hyuga have been bothering me non-stop ever since their branch family left. And now that Hanabi is missing? Ugh, tell me you don't know anything, pretty please? Woo, the Hyuga are missing an entire branch of their family, that is big news. Crazy. Naruto sipped his drink while Tsunade watched him quietly, her own drink paused at her lips. What? Tsunade grunted and turned away. If Hayashi ever finds out about the Hataru, and them being in Uzushio, he's going to raise hell. And you know what? You're dealing with him, not me. It's your turn. What are we, divorced parents? He's your problem, not mine. You screwed his eldest daughter on his desk and then left with a majority of his family. This is absolutely your problem. Even if it had been worth a few good laughs at first. It was now becoming a problem. Seriously though, do you know anything about Konohamaru and Hanabi? Nope, but I'll tell my ninja to keep an eye out for them. Naruto was grinning all the same. Those memories had been good ones. Hinata really did have a mean streak in her once she opened up a little. Plus, he could never look at cinnamon rolls the same way again. Shaking his head, Naruto saluted her with his drink. But fine, I'll deal with him if he ever finds out. Only fair, I guess. Thanks, you little ingrate. They both turned to see a bored-looking Gaara descending the stairs from the upper levels. Naruto offered a wave while Tsunade saluted with her drink. Shouldn't you both be sleeping? Naruto points at him, shouldn't you? Shrugging and pulling a chair over, Gaara sits between the others and off to the side. Old habits are hard to break. I'm still so used to being up all the time. How's the seal doing anyway? Need it looked at? Naruto had been curious about it and was comforted to see Gaara shake his head. No. In fact, Shikaku and I have been talking. Not much. But, enough. Gaara shrugged again and easily accepted a full drink from Tsunade. We aren't friends. Barely allies even. But it is a start. Naruto nods, well good luck, just know that I'm around if you need me to kick the shit out of him. I'll keep that in mind. Oh ho, more meetings without me? I'm hurt. Mei wasn't far behind Gaara, coming to join the group as well even if it was getting late in the evening. She instead chose to join Naruto on his couch, sitting on the opposite side from Hinata. What am I missing this time? Tsunade hands her a glass with a grin, not much yet. Just some griping and easy drinks. Feel free to complain all you want. Mei accepted the glass and leaned into Naruto. Less complaining, but I do have so many questions for Uzumaki-sama here. Shrugging, Naruto would not be embarrassed right now since he couldn't run away to begin with. Somehow I doubt that any of them are about the villages or Yuzu. Congratulations, as perceptive as ever. Rolling her eyes and watching the Mizukage almost drape herself over the boy, Tsunade grunted, I know it's well earned, but is there a woman alive that you've met and haven't charmed at this point? Because you're a regular little heartbreaker. Gaara looks to the Hokage, a smaller though rare grin on his face. Are you including yourself in that number, Tsunade? As Mei and Naruto chuckle, Tsunade fights down the blush that erupts on her face against her will. I don't know what you're talking about. Taking a drink, she ignores the island duo. Hush will you? He's old enough to be my grandson. Mei can't help but continue to giggle. That isn't exactly a denial, Tsunade. Do remember I can break mountains in half if needed. Ah, so touchy. Relaxing back and just accepting Mei cuddling into his side, Naruto looks up into the metal deck above them. Mind trailing on his only real and constant concern, I wonder. Do you think a real peace is possible with the world as it is now? He can feel all eyes on him and continues along after taking another small drink. I was making moves to do something in the near future. And Kumo? They've already attacked Uzushio once, even if it was through proxy with the Land of Sky. Is Kumo going to continue this proxy shit? Is Iwa going to join in? Naruto sighed and shook his head. It's like they want a new war to start. He had no doubts about how well it would go for them, but of course, he couldn't be everywhere at once. They'd get lucky and then? Well, Kurama said, people respected what they feared. Tsunade had a bit more experience and shook her head at his concerns. Kumo at least knows they can't continue as they have been. Your village sent the Land of Sky packing with absolutely no losses on your end. That's a huge deal as the Land of Sky was formerly one of the most feared nations on the planet. No. Kumo won't try that again, none of the smaller nations even match up to Sky, much less you. Gaara nods with her conclusion, though his mind latches onto what was left, that means something smaller. More subtle then. Kumo is good at that. Mei is curious, looking down as she thought and ignoring the very solid muscles under her back, something like a strike team then? Or a single actor? An assassin would fit. Naruto said aloud, free hand still stroking Hinata's hair, not sure it'd be a problem for me though. Tsunade points at him with her glass. That's the point though, you won't be the target. This is Kumo, they'll hit at something precious to you to force you in line with what they want you to do. Here she looks pointedly at Hinata in his lap, it's well within what they have done in the past. Sighing, Naruto grumbles and thinks about a conversation he had with Pain high above the streets of Rain. I sure hope Pain isn't proven correct in all this. I want to build a more lasting peace without more violence. Without massive amounts of bloodshed. Thinking about it and eventually shrugging, he does concede one point. Though, Uzushio won't shy away from bloodshed. We will defend ourselves however we must. We were too close to utter destruction in the past. I won't let that happen again. Not on my watch. Suna will stand with you. Till the end. Gaara grins and raises a glass to Naruto, who nods and returns the salute. Thanks buddy. Mei nods from his side, Kiri will be there as well. Us islanders have to stick together. Sighing and watching the three bond a bit, Tsunade takes another drink and finishes off her glass. I sure hope you know what you're doing, Gaki. I have a small idea, yeah. They all nod and raise a glass, clinking them against each other and all wishing for more hopeful and peaceful days in the future. May however leans into him a bit more, offering him a sultry smile. So, who do I have to bother to attain one of those cute tattoos that your girls all have? Is there a story behind them? Blushing while equal parts cursing and praising his luck, he takes a drink to not have to answer right away. Gaara has no problem making it worse. Most men would kill to be in your shoes. Cackling and refilling her glass, Tsunade offers Naruto another toast. You better stock up on those energy drinks, boy. You're going to need it. Should she be a bit more worried that May was hunting the younger man? Maybe. Would it all be too hilarious to stop? Absolutely yes. Come find me if you think he's knocked you up, I'll give you a checkup for free. Oh, will you? That'd be delightful. Naruto went back to looking up into the deck above him. This was absolutely not his fault this time. Hinata was taking the blame for May. He just wanted to relax from now on. The very shapely body at his side reminded him that that wasn't going to be happening anytime soon. Where was a super-powered bad guy who didn't take hostages? Maybe if he was in combat all the time he could get some sleep? May was leaning to whisper in his ear, I wouldn't mind some shared time between myself, you, and this one here. She's fun. Never mind, his life was awesome and there was no need to change it. Oh Make, if there was one thing Konohamaru could say he was good at, it was causing chaos. And while the hard-to-get-to storage room had been easy enough to set on fire, escaping without being seen had been a little harder. But, as he and Hanabi ran down a beach while the large ship burned in the background, they both couldn't help but laugh as a dozen pirates gave chase. Well, Konohamaru was laughing as they reached the dune separating the beach from the rest of the land they were on, now hitting a wooded area. Hanabi on the other hand ran along, hand still in his, while berating him about the entire situation. You utter idiot. You said you had a plan. This is not a plan. Sure it is, we're free and on land now, aren't we? And on the run. Do you not see that we're being pursued? Hanabi turned back, just in time to see the pirate ship explode into a ball of fire and ash. What? Ah, must have hit the powder room, whoops. Konohamaru kept running, dragging Hanabi along before grunting and pulling her forward. Sorry about this. What are you, Eep? Tossed in the air for a moment, Konohamaru suddenly had Hanabi in a princess carry. You brute. She pounded on his chest lightly, but not enough to make him stumble. They were on the run after all. You'll thank me later. Konohamaru wanted to fight, but even back on the ship he had noticed that he couldn't control his chakra very well. Maybe something in the food they had gotten? It would explain how they had gotten captured so easily. At least we're somewhere populated. I can see a house ahead. It was a nice little two-story home, very homey really. Hanabi wanted to scream about turning back and fighting, but even she noticed that she couldn't muster up her chakra like she should be able to. Chakra poison perhaps? Or the last dregs of a paralysis potion? Pirates hot on their heels, the pair are just making it to the door of the home before it is thrown open and a woman's shape appears in a box of yellow light. Sliding to a stop, even the pirates pause behind Konohamaru and Hanabi, though one draws a sword and edges closer. Tsunami could say that she was happily surprised, certainly not prepared to see two children running away from what looked like pirates. But, this was Uzushio. The land of the unexpected after all. Putting a smile on her face, she leans down to them. Oh dear, do you need assistance? Seeing both nod quickly, she stands up straight to stare at the men behind them. You should leave now. It's your loss this time. The lead man grinning and held up his sword. Shut it, woman, give us the kids before we carve you up as well. He had lost a lot of friends back on the ship. Most likely the captain was down as well. Now was the time to show strength and take the lead. On second thought, why don't you come along as well? You look delicious. Tilting her head, Tsunami's smile falls just a bit into a small frown. Oh dear, now you've done it. A single sharp whistle leaves her lips, and instantly, the clearing in front of her home is full of ninja. All of the pirates are down, disarmed and subdued easily. Tsunami watches the work be done before pointing towards the town. I'm sure they aren't important, but take them in for questioning all the same, will you? Hi Lady Tsunami. And then the ninja were gone, leaving Hanabi and Konohamaru alone with the obviously powerful woman. Tsunami turned back to smile at them. Now then, you're safe now. Tsunami eyed the girl in the boy's arms with a smile. I do think you can let your friend down now. Scrambling and blushing, both children shot away from each other as if on fire. Hanabi has the presence of mind to bow to the woman. Thank you for your assistance in this matter. It is appreciated. My, formal and polite. Tell me, what are your names? Konohamaru was grinning as he thumbed his chest. I'm Konohamaru, this is Hanabi. I can introduce myself, you irritating monkey. Oh yeah, princess? Wanna go back to why we were on a pirate ship in the first place? That was in the past. We're here now. Of all the Tsunami interrupted them by giggling and standing up a bit straighter. Spirited children, weren't they? Okay then, Konohamaru, Hanabi. And why are you out and about alone like this? Hanabi nods. I was actually on a mission. I'm on my way to Uzushio to find my sister and convince her idiot husband to return home. Oh dear, a young girl with a sister complex, was it? Ho ho, she probably felt like her sister's husband stole her away then. But Tsunami was not one to interfere with family matters. Okay, well, I either know or can get a hold of anyone in these parts. What are their names? Hinata Hyuga and Naruto Uzumaki. Oh, well, that made things a bit more complicated. Well, I can tell you that they are away for now on business, but should return within the week. Why don't you come in? I'm sure you have some amazing stories to tell. Ushering them inside, she wondered if the Uzumakis were ready for this. Walking alone behind the thoughtful woman, Hanabi turned to Konohamaru with a peculiar look on her face that the young boy couldn't place right away. So, he decided to wing it, something on my face? No, you oaf. She wanted to berate him, she really and truly did. But Hanabi was nothing if not proper and polite. Konohamaru had done her a great service after all. You. Thank you. You aren't so bad after all, and you did get us free. Oh ho, so the princess can be nice. Don't make me regret it. Grinning and nodding, Konohamaru takes the win for what it is. Well, you aren't so bad yourself, Hanabi. You just need to relax a bit, go with the flow, you know? Hanabi frowned, that warm feeling coming back to her, odd. I will, keep that in mind. Now the next part of her plan went into effect, finding her sister and bringing her home. So how far is Uzushio from here? Tsunami smiled as she sat them down in her living room. Oh? I didn't say already? You're in Uzushio. Wave District, specifically. Konohamaru grinned and gave Hanabi a wink. See, things worked out. All part of my plan. This was not part of your plan. Can you prove it? Seeing her go silent as the gears really started to turn in her head, Konohamaru's grin grew. See, all part of the plan. This was turning out to be a lot of fun in the end. He'd have to thank Nisan when he saw him. Chapter 69. Though Naruto could make untold amounts of clones in order to make use of his time more efficiently, today still found him happily behind his desk and working through a stack of paperwork. This morning, while untangling himself from various bodies, the glare Tayuya had leveled his way had been rather epic. He did owe her after all, making her watch after the village multiple times on short notice. So today she got to be attended to by several clones for a personal spa day, while he got to work. She did make sure he promised to have an actual date night later on, which he was happy to oblige. So here he was in his office as the sun rose to bathe his city in light and warmth, while his office was unusually crowded. Mei and Tsunade were lounging about off to the side, drinking and chatting away while Sakura and Sasuke acted the part of guards, though both decided to tease him from time to time. Tsunade cackled as Mei was telling a story about one of her own guards, Chojuro, who had recently walked in on her while she had been changing in an attempt to deliver a report. Tsunade had to take a minute to wipe a very real tear away from her eyes. My god, woman, you're going to give that boy a heart attack. Mei only smirked and twirled her hair between dexterous fingers. The boy means well, but he needs some confidence is all. Why, he may just reach Naruto-sama status one day. As the women laughed and joked around, Naruto read through a report detailing a dedication park that Tayuya had approved that apparently told of his heroic deeds over the last few years. Wonderful. You know, if you want to laze about my office, you could at least offer to help out. Naruto wasn't going to complain about the beautiful women hanging around his office, if they could at least keep it down. Mei of course knows his weakness, leaning back and batting her eyelashes at him with a smirk. Why, you'd put this delicate flower to work, Naruto-sama? She had to repress the shiver that worked down her spine as his eyes latched onto her. Say it isn't so? I thought I was worthy of pampering. Tsunade as well as pointing a finger at him while her other hand holds up a half-full glass of sake. I distinctly remember telling you that I needed to return to my village. You're the one that brought me all the way here, so be happy I'm not wrecking the place. Of course, he had shown her the rather nice little hideaway he was offering her, and it did have an amazing view. Not that she was being tempted, completely at least. This is your fault. It had been a lot of sake stored away in the end. Grumbling and knowing that yes, it was his fault, Naruto went back to work. Know it, all women. Filing away the park paperwork and reminding himself to have a chat with Tayuya, he pulled free the next in line. Discourse in the land of vegetables? With their success in the land of demons, perhaps they could garner some goodwill here. He'd have to put a team together. Maybe send Koyuki and Cheyenne along after it was confirmed there was no danger present. Seeing Naruto actually focused, Sakura couldn't help but smirk from his left shoulder. You know, if you try to bug out again, Tayuya is going to skin you alive. Seeing her friend twitch at that had her cheering mentally. Sasuke agreed, nodding sagely though Naruto couldn't see him, either that or she's going to approve even more monuments to you and your family. I really think you underestimate just how much your people love you. Which to Sasuke wasn't a bad thing. Sure, when he was a kid and the Konoha Council heaped praise on him for being an Uchiha, it was unfounded. But here Naruto had earned it with his own blood and sweat. He should bask in it a little. Naruto finally sighed and set that letter into a separate pile, to be dealt with later. Maybe he should put a few teams together to address the continent housing the land of demons. The land of sky needed to be brought into the fold now that he had so completely stomped them, and there were several nations within that area's borders that needed assistance or saving. Naruto and Fu have been wanting to explore. Could be fun for them and it'll net Uzushio more allies. Naruto, Undertow Team 3 is here to deliver a report. Ino's voice spoke from his intercom, distracting him for the moment and earning a sigh from him. Sure, send him in. Naruto watched as the wetsuit-wearing team entered his office, sandals at least dry while the rest of their gear was stored away in backpacks. Naruto got the feeling they were literally fresh from a recent patrol. Anything new? Their leader, a shorter man with buzz-cut hair and a deep tan, shook his head. Nothing today, Lord Uzukage. As you ordered, we have adjusted our patrols to account for our newest visitor, though they seem to do nothing but sleep all day long. Handing over a scroll with their daily report, the team of 3 all saluted Naruto smartly. Any new orders, sir? Naruto waved them off as he set the report aside to read later. No, though maybe remind Isaribi to take a break herself today. Hearing the team chuckle as they turned to leave, Naruto just knew he'd have to go track down the shape-shifting woman himself. Either that or send Tayuya after her. I'm surrounded by workaholics. Sakura shifted her weight back and forth, hands on her hips. I know you aren't talking. I'm different, I'm the Kage. Tsunade leaned back to look at him from over a shoulder. Kage need breaks too, brat. I told you that. Naruto nods. You aren't wrong. I know that. The door opened again, and Naruto watched a smirking Ino sashaying her way inside. Oh? What's up, Inoheim? He really hoped the stack of paperwork in her arms wasn't all for him. Preening as she set down the entire stack on his desk, Ino made sure to lean over extra just for him. Oh, nothing, just some drop-offs to be filed away later. Lower-level stuff that didn't need to be completed by you. While Naruto had been away, the Fox Den girls had been busy organizing and making sure only work Naruto needed to see made it to his desk. Every moment freed up meant more time for them after all. Also, the Chinoike sent a message that they would like a word with you sometime this week. Naruto nods, doing his best to keep eye contact with Ino's lovely jade eyes. Alright, maybe in a couple of days, I have a few projects to finish up. He still had been making untold amounts of clones early in the morning. He sure hoped the girls enjoyed the upcoming surprise. Ino nods while standing up straight and beginning to strut out of his office. I'll be sure to let En know. Waving a hand over her shoulder, she's soon gone and back at the secretary desk. Why do I feel like we interrupted something? Sakura couldn't help but feel like Ino had been of the mind to continue something else, not just an operations update. Naruto sighed and shook his head. Trust me, you never want to know what's going on in Ino's head. The woman was insatiable and Naruto knew exactly what she would have suggested if his office wasn't full of other people today. Not that he would have said no either. And that sent him on a rabbit hole of thoughts that made paperwork a distant memory. Watching his brother begin to giggle and zone out, Sasuke sighed as his ears caught the distant sounds of rumblings in the air. Looking over his shoulder, he spied an airship making its way towards the tower. Looks like the Suna team has finally returned. That perked Naruto up as the building began to vibrate. Koyuki and the others are home? Perfect. Already making plans to ditch his work to his clones, Naruto felt a soft hand on his shoulder and turned to see a sweetly smiling Sakura there waiting for him. You're gonna remind me that Tayuya will tie my balls in a knot, aren't you? That Sakura only nodded slowly, had Naruto sighing and sitting back down. I'm just excited to see the girls is all. They'll come to you, have some patience, Gaki. Tsunade tossed in her own thoughts before returning to her conversation with Mei. The Mizukage was just full of interesting tidbits. True to her words, after a few minutes of waiting and returning to his paperwork, Naruto was greeted by a happy group of Koyuki, Kotohime and Karen. Unable to wait, Kotohime is the first to bound his way and drop herself into his lap, giggling and hugging him tightly around the shoulders while Koyuki stood with her arms crossed and Karen had her hands on her hips. Both women secretly wishing they had rushed ahead first. Kotohime was more focused on enjoying her cuddle time. It's good to be home. Naruto nods, kissing the woman lightly before focusing on the others, so I'm guessing things went well in Suna? Feeling a subtle weight leave his shoulders, Naruto was happy to see the rest of his girls home safe and sound. Yes, Suna was an ally, but anything could happen out on the road. Well, he supposed. Koyuki smiled and nodded, having taken a second to bow to Tsunade and Mei in greeting. Yes. Trade expansions with Suna went very well, but we also had a chance to smooth things out with a few other nations. Fong, Claw, mountains, and rivers. I may be rushing, but if I can somehow get grass, waterfalls, and rain into talks, we may be able to expand our train network. Which back home she could already feel the engineers in spring celebrating. More allied nations meant more train connections and more work contracts. Sounds like you've been super busy then. But congratulations on a job well done. Naruto grins and hugs Kotohime tightly again, eliciting a laugh from her as he tickled her sides before releasing her. But you should take a break, relax and rest for a while before thinking about more trips. No overworking yourselves. Karen shrugged, we're only taking our cues from you. Shifting her weight from one hip to the other, she graciously let the other pregnant woman exchange places with Kotohime, Koyuki happily enjoying a quick cuddle with the Yuzukage. For what it's worth, it's good to see you actually in one place. Naruto stares directly at Karen, who after a minute blushes and looks away. Yeah, I'm not the one who still overworks themselves, am I? Don't let me catch you in the basement for at least a couple of days. More like she'd do it just to get a rise out of him. The minx. Anything else new I need to worry about or should be updated on? Koyuki sighed from her perch in his lap, a thoughtful look on her face. Have you had a chance to talk with Temari yet? Seeing Naruto shake his head with wide eyes, Koyuki shook her own. They are here, correct? Naruto nods. Yeah, Gaara and his siblings are touring the city right now. Why? Letting the woman up, Naruto raised an eyebrow. What did you do? Nothing, that isn't your fault. Koyuki winked at him before standing with Kotohime and Karen. We just had an interesting conversation with Suna's council was all. Hearing Sakura snort behind him and Sasuke give a tired groan, Naruto decided to feign ignorance. It wasn't his fault, he had to remind himself. He didn't do anything. Right. Well, we're all glad you're home. Where's the airship headed next? Koyuki shrugged, back to Spring, and then regular trips between Spring, Yuzu, and Suna. Tsunade gains their attention, standing and stretching with an exaggerated motion before picking up her green jacket and tossing it on. Waving goodbye to Mei, she turns honey-colored eyes towards the pregnant duo. Welp, since I'm here, let's give you girls a checkup. I want to make sure my grandkids are doing well. Kotohime and Koyuki exchange quick glances, before the more brave Kotohime eyes up the Sannin. I'm sure we're fine, Tsunade-sama. Karen does a good job taking care of us. Tsunade easily slid both women under her arms, dragging them away as if they were children. Oh, I'm sure she does, but call it Grandma's prerogative. Now come along. Hey Sakura, you too, get over here. Hopping to attention, Sakura is already following Tsunade out of the office. Yes ma'am. Naruto waved them off, a smirk on his face. Good luck. Watching Kotohime and Koyuki protest and yet still get dragged away, he wished them well all the same. Tsunade was the best at what she did after all. His eyes turned to Karen. What about you? Gonna go home and relax? Karen nods. Actually, I think I'm gonna head out, pick up some food. I've got some gossip for I am after all. Here she grins at him. Wanna ditch work and have a date? I'd love to, but I'd rather not acquire a certain woman's wrath. Oh, did you piss off Tayuya again? Karen snorted as he nodded glumly and came around finally to share a soft kiss with him. Oh you. I'll bring you back something and we'll see about that pesky woman. Hey, bring me back some ramen, would ya? And tell I am Nachan I said hey. Naruto felt his heart soar as Karen nodded and winked at him. And I promise, we can hit the town later and have a proper date, okay? Seeing her smile brightly for him, she too was gone through the door after a moment. Sasuke smirks, relaxing a bit more with his own girlfriend long gone. You just can't help yourself, can you? I have no reason to, call me greedy. Having some space finally, Naruto made a pair of clones who took the previously left pile of paperwork to begin filing it away on his bookshelf. Seeing Mei watching him curiously, he focused on her for a moment. Have anything you want to do while you are here? Besides maybe a few days just exploring the city, no. I should be returning to my own village after all. Mei knew that her own work was most likely piling up, and they had a small backlog of missions. Unless you can spare some clones to take care of my own paperwork. Yeah, I don't think it'd work out quite as well. Naruto sighed as Mei gained a twinkle in her eyes and decided he didn't want to know what thoughts were going on in her head. Naruto, Riptide Team 1 has returned. With guests. Ino's voice again broke the silence of the office, and Naruto raised an eyebrow at the slight worry in her voice. Interesting. Sandem. Naruto watched as a worn-out Yugo and the Fuma girls entered his office, followed by a taller Bishonen-type man and a tired but anxious-looking blonde girl. The man was dressed in traditional blues, noting from Kiri, while the girl was dressed in a mix of ninja attire that was purple and black. Watching his team come to attention, he noted idly Mei's eyes locking on the man. Standing quickly, Mei is soon off to the side of his desk, staring directly at Utakata. Utakata, you're alive? Where have you been? Oh, hello, Lord Mizukage. It's been a long journey. Obviously. I sent an Umbu team to inform you that leadership had changed and it was safe for you to return. When the team returned without you, I was more than a little confused. What was so important that you would risk staying away from the village with the likes of Akatsuki out and about? Looking everything like a put-upon son, Utakata turned for some type of help from the Riptide team or Hataru. All of such, however, knew not to get involved with a Kage dressing down one of their ninja. I had a previous engagement. Is that so, something more important than a summons from your Kage? I'd love to hear that story. Mei turned to bow to Naruto. I need him for a moment, please don't mind us. Mei didn't wait, grabbing Utakata by the arm and dragging him off to the side towards Naruto's weapon wall, voice low to continue her questioning. Naruto offered a silent prayer to the man before turning back to his team. Looks like you all had some fun. What's the report? Yugo stands a bit straighter while taking the time to explain to Naruto everything that happened while they had been returning from their mission in Claw. From finding Hataru wandering the forest, to their tracking down of the Akatsuki hidden base and encountering Itachi. That got a rise out of Naruto, but Yugo continued on to explain Kin's plan to get away, and their frantic flight back to Uzushio with Utakata and Hataru's deal with them for Finder her sensei. At the end of it, Yugo bowed deeply to Naruto. I understand I may have overstepped my bounds, taking on a mission like this. I will submit myself for whatever punishment you deem necessary. Naruto quickly waved a hand and bid Yugo to raise his head. None of that. You did nothing that I wouldn't have done myself. You did the right thing, Yugo, I won't be punishing you for that. Naruto gave Kin an appraising eye, however. The young woman had found a way to break out of an Uchiha Genjutsu, and wasn't that something to note? Go ahead and head up to our home, get some rest, and then file a complete report tomorrow. Make note, Kin, in as much detail as you can, about Itachi's Genjutsu. You did well, congratulations. All three members of Riptide bowed deeply to their lord. Yes, Uzumaki-sama. And yet, they stayed behind as Naruto's gaze now turned to the fidgeting Hataru, who stood ramrod straight as his eyes locked onto her. Now then, what to do with you? Naruto eyed the blonde and wondered what he could do with yet another clan at his disposal. While he felt a certain way about a clan willing to use a sacrificial technique that could build a living bomb out of a person, he couldn't pass up more ninja. Are you sure you speak for your whole clan? Hataru was nervous. Even she had heard some of the rumors surrounding the Uzukage and a certain appetite. Yes sir. I can speak for them. While that wasn't entirely true, she was sure after everything that had happened she could convince the chief to see her side of things. We are a strong and proud clan, I'm sure we can fill whatever role you need. Naruto hums at that, thinking it over. Is that so? Mind already wandering, wondering if the clan would relocate here or not, which meant more work to find them suitable living space. Or maybe they could stay where they were, not like everyone needed to migrate to Uzushio at this point. What was their specialty anyway? Hataru wasn't privy to his thoughts, only instead watching the intense look on concentration settling on his face while he watched her. Wondering if the rumors were in fact true, and eventually beginning to worry about it and wanting to make sure her village would be treated fairly, Hataru sighed mentally and bowed deeply to him. Of course, if needed, I could serve the Uzukage directly in any capacity. Naruto was only half paying attention, nodding his head absent-mindedly, Coming back to his senses, he eyed the bowing girl before shrugging, won't be necessary. Instead, head out to my secretary Ino and have her set you up with a temporary living space while we get in contact with your clan. While you agreed with my team to become members of Uzushio, I'd like to make sure that it is in fact something your clan wants. Naruto wasn't about to force anyone to join him after all. Hataru stood up straight, a bit puzzled but nodding all the same, if that is what you wish, Uzumaki-sama. Maybe he wasn't some nefarious womanizer after all? Naruto nods and motions to the door. We'll put a team together in a few days and escort you back to your clan. Uzushio is always willing to make new friends, and we'll settle things properly in negotiations. Naruto turned eyes towards Riptide and winked at them, go get some rest, all of you. You've more than earned it. Yugo and the others turned to leave, letting Hataru leave before them, as you wish, Naruto-sama. Yugo's voice still carried a hint of how tired he was, but he was smirking all the same. Naruto waved him off. I told you Yugo, it's Naruto. Nah. Ru. 2. Of course, Naruto-sama. Kin giggled as Sasami leaned into her for support. I'm so tired, Kin. Kin nods, yeah, we've gotta step up our training. Sleep. Kin shook her head as they left, eyeing. And then the door was closed, Ino's surprised face the last thing they saw as Hataru began speaking with her in a hushed voice. Not worried about them now that he knew they were home, Naruto turned to Mei and Utakata, who looked seconds away from trying to jump out his window. Mei looked ready to throttle the Jinchuriki, and Naruto felt like helping the guy out. So, hate to interrupt, but seeing as my team brought you in, what would you like to do from here on, Utakata, right? Seeing a safe haven, Utakata turns to Naruto quickly, though Mei continues to glare at his back. Honestly, with everything settled and apparently the news that Kirigakure has indeed settled our civil war, I'd like to return home. I'd like to see it for myself. Feeling eyes burning into the back of his head, Utakata began to sweat, and I'd like to check in on Hataru, at least once or twice. The girl was responsible for saving him in the end. He owed her that much. Naruto's estimation of the other Jinchuriki goes up a bit. Well, Yuzu and Kiri are allies now, so you should be able to freely travel to see her from now on. Naruto wasn't going to stand in the way of a Jinchuriki finding love if that was what this was. Life was hard enough for them. I'm sure we can arrange some quick travel back to Kiri. Mei is standing next to Utakata in a blink, one arm wrapped around his own while she smiled sweetly at Naruto. If you don't mind, I'll escort this troublemaker home. Mei winked at Naruto. I will of course continue to offer you a free visit when time allows. Hopefully sometime soon, yes? Naruto can't help but nod, thankful to have a reprieve from the woman even if it was only because her focus had shifted to another poor soul. I'll come and visit soon. I'd love to see your home. Naruto eyed up Utakata and mentally saluted the man and his sacrifice. I'm sure getting your lost ninja home and settled is at the top of your to-do list right now. Mei nods quickly. I'm glad you understand, Naruto-sama. Here she turns to Utakata. Now then, shall we go? You have a lot to answer for after all. Utakata is soon dragged away. Mei focused on the single task of getting Utakata back in Kiri and hopefully far away from Akatsuki's clutches. I'll show you, the Mist Village has done a lot of self-reflection lately. You'll see voice fading as they left the office. Naruto was finally left alone with Sasuke, office much more peaceful after the last hour or so. Relaxing back into his very comfortable chair, Naruto gave thanks to the kami for the quiet. Sasuke can't help but poke at him. Looks like that Utakata just saved you a lot of headaches for now. Yup, even if I'll probably pay for it later. Oh yeah? Leaving a tired and worn-out Jinchuriki with their Kage, who apparently actually really cares about them, wasn't a good idea? Sasuke chuckles as Naruto's shoulders slump a bit. He'll live. Oh, I'm not worried about that. I'm more worried about how much Mei is going to want to thank me later for my team helping him out and rescuing him. Yeah. You're on your own there. It's not my fault. You're the Kage Naruto, it's all your fault. Shit. I'll pray for you. I'll need it, thanks. Naruto returned to his work, mentally gearing himself back up while Kurama finally seemed to wake and yawn loudly in his mind. We still on for tonight? Yeah, you ready? I was born ready, little brother. Good. They had something fun to get to for once. Scene change, Hinata was enjoying a short trip through the city and now in wave as she considered what had her out and about today. It was rare for her to be summoned by anyone other than Naruto or one of the other Foxden girls these days. Sure, officially she didn't have much to do with the inner workings of Uzushio, but unofficially she, like many of the other girls, had found interesting roles to play when they had the free time. Working as a secretary for Naruto was fun and something important to do, but her real calling came from her work dealing with relations between the various ninja clans within Uzushio. Born from her original desire to see her own clan reformed and changing its ways, she now wanted to see all of the Uzushio clans working together towards common goals. So now these days she was the one they called when there were minor conflicts of interests between clans, or when negotiations needed to be scheduled. It was fun and fulfilling work, and something that she had been happy to do. Niji and the Hataru clan certainly didn't complain, instead trying to get her to take on the role of clan head for them. Not that she would. No. She was still trying to get Niji to fully take that role. But today was different. Tsunami had sent a messenger along to find her. So here she was walking along the streets of Wave while she wondered if maybe a new clan had taken up residence in Wave while they all had been away. Either that or maybe Tsunami herself had something personal to bring up with the girl. That thought sent Hinata wondering, curious if maybe Tsunami was finally ready to move on. Maybe she was interested in Naruto as well? That'd be a surprise to be sure. Waving to a few passerby who recognized her, Hinata tried and failed to shake the thought. Tsunami did seem very at ease dealing with Naruto and adjusting to their group whenever she had time to visit. Plus she always had such wonderful tips for various homemaking tasks. Blushing and shaking her head to clear it of dirty thoughts, Hinata huffed and focused on her walk. Reaching Tsunami and Tezuna's home, Hinata knocks on the door and waited for a moment. Hearing footsteps, the door is opened to reveal a brightly smiling Tsunami who steps back to allow Hinata entrance. Welcome, Hinata, how are you? Doing well, I hope. Tsunami gives her new wardrobe a glance, eyeing the braid her long hair was now in. I love the new look. Hinata nods as she comes in, waiting for Tsunami to close the door behind her. Thank you. I found that being more open with myself and my feelings has been very liberating. Plus it helps that Naruto likes it. So I'm well. We just returned from the Kage summit. All good news there. Tsunami took the lead, leading Hinata deeper into her home with a smile and a wave. I hope this is just a friendly chat you have planned. You certainly didn't give me a lot of details. Tsunami still has a smile on her face as she bows lightly. Yes, well, this situation was a bit personal and I wasn't sure how to bring it up through a missive. So I decided bringing you here personally was for the best. Well, that certainly lined up with Hinata's thoughts. Well, you know us, Tsunami, you're always welcome to speak your mind with whatever you need. We'll never judge you after all. Tsunami was instrumental in the formation of Uzushio, so they more than owed her a great deal. If the woman needed some comfort, they were more than willing to give up Naruto for a few nights. Tsunami was thankful that the Uzumakis were so laid back, though mentally she was way off target on what Hinata was hinting at. Yes, well, a few days ago we received some interesting visitors that I think you'll want to see for yourself. Coming into her living room, Tsunami stands aside as a perplexed Hinata turns to take in Hanabi and Konohamaru sitting on one of the couches. Eyes going wide, Hinata stands stock still as Hanabi smirks at her sister. Eyeing the older girl who apparently decided to ditch her modesty during her time in Uzushio, Hanabi instead decided to focus on the speech she had prepared for when she met her sister. Hello, dear sister, surprised to see me? Blinking owlishly for a moment as all of her thoughts were derailed, Hinata took a moment to mentally reboot. Hanabi? Was she under a genjutsu? How could her sister possibly be here? And without Hayashi? Why yes, it's me. I've come explain in great detail the error of your dash. Hanabi didn't get to finish as her sister was suddenly in front of her, dragging her to her feet and shaking her back and forth. Hinata, for all her calm and happy demeanor, suddenly remembered that the Hyuga were nothing but giant pains in the ass. What are you doing? You aren't supposed to be here and I know father wouldn't have given you the okay to leave home. Did you get an escort? Permission? You didn't, did you? Hinata paused in her shaking, seeing Hanabi try and fail to form words as she had not prepared for an assertive Hinata to take control right away. You foolish girl. Do you have any idea how much trouble you could have caused? And look, you dragged Konohamaru into this. Where did you go? Do you know how dangerous things are for someone like you outside of the village? You risked your life and for what? What? I just know when father finds out, he's going to try and force Konoha to lodge a complaint against Uzushio for this. Hinata pauses again, Hanabi's eyes swirling as the older girl sighed finally, heart rate starting to come down to something more normal. If you wanted a visit I would have come to you, all you had to do was call. Send a message. Anything. You know, Lady Tsunade communicates with Naruto and I. Laughing and having not stopped since Hinata started shaking the proud and lofty Hanabi, Konohamaru was clutching his stomach with real glee. Serves the princess right. I told you so. Hanabi took a second to shake herself from her sister's hands, repressing her urge to give Konohamaru the finger as she looked up into the firm but all worried eyes of her older sister. Had she really been so wrong about everything? No. Impossible. Your idiot husband is influencing you too much. Just look at yourself. That's why I came all this way too. Why was her sister suddenly looming over her with an aura of clear murderous intent surrounding her? Suddenly it was very hard to breathe. Think carefully on your next words, little sister. I love you, but speaking out of turn about my husband will require correction. Do you understand? Hinata missed her sister, yes, but she would not put up with anyone speaking ill of Naruto or her new family. Hanabi kept wide eyes on her suddenly very scary big sister. Maybe she had miscalculated her. I feel like I've made a mistake. Hinata nods, smiling pleasantly and sitting them both down on Tsunami's couch while said woman had snuck away to the kitchen to give them some privacy. Now then. Taking a deep breath to steady herself, Hinata locked eyes with Hanabi. Tell me everything. Why are you here? Confronted with the fact that Hinata was not the weak-willed girl that she remembered before she left Konoha, Hanabi was suddenly very unsure of how to continue. Blushing and looking away, fidgeting with her hands, she was faced with the reality that nothing had gone the way she had hoped on this journey. Not even confronting her sister, which should have been the easiest part of all of this. Here sat a strong and competent woman who knew exactly who she was, and it was a bit humbling. Konohamaru eyed the suddenly shy Hanabi and stabbed right to the core of the problem, speaking up and knowing Hanabi might shank him later. Hanabi just missed you was all. The princess just doesn't know how to admit it. Unable to stop the growl that left her throat, Hanabi turned to Konohamaru, who blurted out the words that were in her mind, the monkey should mind their own business. Her thoughts were derailed further when instead of another shaking fit, Hinata pulled her into a soft and very comfortable hug, nestling Hanabi's head in her ample bosom. Wah. Hinata sighed, emotions finally calmed down some as she really thought about things. Hanabi was safe and sound, and that was what was important. She could grill her more later, she supposed. You foolish girl. Next time just call me. I missed you as well, little sister. She really had as well. While she still felt like punting her father into orbit, she had always wished that she had reconciled with her sister before she left. Now perhaps was a chance to do just that. Holding Hanabi out at arm's length, Hinata held eye contact with the girl. Please promise me that next time you won't risk your life and you'll just call me instead? Nodding dumbly, Hanabi doesn't fight the hug that she's pulled back into. This was nice. Warm. Safe. Was this how mother would have held her? It sure felt like a mother's embrace. Deciding not to fight it and just accept it while her own arms snake around Hinata's midsection, Hanabi does promise herself to stomp Konohamaru into the dirt for getting involved later. But that was for later. She could admit to herself that she did miss her elder sister. After a few minutes, Hanabi finally pulls away, blush still on her face as she clears her throat in an attempt to preserve what dignity she still had. Well. It's good to see you well, sister. Hanabi couldn't look her in the eye and instead focused on the grinning Konohamaru. Where is that oafish husband of yours? Chuckling and deciding that Hanabi needed a bit of a reality check, Hinata stood slowly and motioned for them to follow her. I think then, we should head to the mansion. Naruto is busy with work, but I'm sure he'll make an exception for you both. Both younger ninja blinked at her tone, watching as she bowed deeply to Tsunami, who waved her off with a smile. Konohamaru is the first to speak up. Why would Naruto-Nisan be busy? Hinata, however, captures Hanabi's hand in her own, dragging the girl along with a smile on her face. Well, he is the Kage, he's usually very busy. You knew that, didn't you? Hinata was focused forward as they reached the door, bowing again to Tsunami while missing the surprised looks on Hanabi's and Konohamaru's faces. Well, today suddenly was very interesting. Hinata was just happy to have her sister safe and sound. Hopefully the drama wouldn't be too bad. So, who wants to explain how you made it here? Faced with the information that they were about to be in even more trouble, Konohamaru instantly pointed at Hanabi. She got us captured by pirates. Blinking, Hinata turned to her sister slowly. What? You dirty traitor. Better you than me, princess. Hinata stared at both of them for a moment, mind still not catching up properly. Pirates? You blew up their ship though. It was a good plan. Blowing up a pirate ship and escaping their angry crew is a good plan? It is when you live. Blinking again, Hinata snatched both children by their shoulders. Explain. Now. Hanabi shared a nervous look with Konohamaru. This is your fault, you dumb monkey. Says you, princess, you're the reason we're out here in the first place. Hopefully Naruto would be nicer when they finally found him. His wife was scary. Scene change. It is late into the evening as he settles down into his office. From his window, he takes a moment to watch his village begin to wind down as night falls. As his gaze rakes over them, his mind goes back to the summit and the now anointed Yuzushio and the Yuzukage. There was danger there, A's intuition telling him that that boy was going to be real trouble. Killer Bee's warning again echoed in his mind before the Raikage shook the thought away. He had allied with Iwa specifically because of this. He would use Iwa's hatred of the boy to further Kumo's own cause. Above all else, I wanted to enrich Kumo and its people. Sure, he knew it was hypocritical at times, but in the end he did what was necessary to ensure his people's future. From the front office, Mabui came walking into his office. While the brown-skinned and silver-haired woman continued to dress as many would expect a secretary should, A had to remind many that she was more than capable of killing full-grown men. Tonight, however, as she sat down one last stack of folders for him to go through, she gave him a worried look. Sire, you should call it a night. You don't have to catch up on your work all in one night. Mabui turned lightly to motion towards the door. Everyone else has left for the night. A considers her for a moment, knowing that she meant well enough before shaking his head. I won't be much longer. Go on and head home. I just have a bit more for tonight. A waved a hand to dismiss her. She was one of his most loyal ninja, and she deserved the rest. Go home, get some rest. There's always more work tomorrow. Taking the dismissal, Mabui took a step back and bowed to her Kage. As you say, Lord Raikage. With a smart-about face, Mabui strode out of his office, closing the door behind her without another word. A considers the closed door, wondering if maybe he should send Darui or maybe Samui to go and do something nice for the woman. She usually ended up overworking herself, maybe he should order her on a vacation or something. The girl works too hard, she deserves something nice. Muttering to himself, he only jumps a little when another voice chuckles in response to his voiced thoughts. You know, hearing you actually give a shit about your people raises my opinion of you. Not much, but a little bit. Naruto was grinning, holding up 2 glasses and a large bottle of sake. I'm not here to fight, I mean, unless you want to. Sitting down in one of the chairs before the other man's desk, Naruto fills up both glasses before taking one for himself, relaxing and waiting for A's reaction. It's not poison, I'm here to talk, not kill you. Like you could. A put the question for how the boy was here at all on the back burner. The fact was that he was here and no alarms were going off, that was more than enough to actually pay attention. I must be dreaming. The lack of sleep finally catching up with me. Naruto shrugs, taking a sip of sake while leaning back, taking the chair he was in up onto 2 legs. Doubt that. I keep reminding everyone that I can be sneaky when I want to be. I was out running Konoha Umbu before I even graduated from the academy. Using a bit of wind chakra to push the other glass towards A, Naruto nodded his way once. Seriously, share a drink with me. Let's hash things out as peacefully as we can. Seeing A shake his head, hands tented together as he watched the blonde, Naruto sighed and took another sip. Look, for both of our sakes, I'm going to make this as quick as possible. What makes you think I'm going to let you leave now that you're here? I was careful not to make any sudden moves right away, though he was circulating a small amount of chakra through him in order to activate his lightning armor at a moment's notice. I could kill you for this. Because I walked in here completely unnoticed. Nice village you have, by the way. This really would be a nightmare to try and siege if it came to war. Mountains are a bitch and a half. Here Naruto finally levels a cold glare A's way. Of course, you're welcome to try and kill me if you like. I'm sure you'll have a bitch of a time doing just that. Naruto had no illusions of just how destructive their battle would be. But that wasn't why he was here. All options are on the table though. Of course they are. Naruto wasn't about to deny that. Kurama would be happy to help out with this one. I recommend a raisin shuriken enema. That's disgusting. He deserves it. Both men stare each other down for a minute, before A sighs and picks up the other glass, taking a sip and refusing to compliment the taste. It was good, but the boy wouldn't get anything positive from him. So get to your point, why are you here? Naruto smirked and ticked off a box in his head. Well, to be blunt, right now there are several transformed copies of me extracting the Uzumaki remnants from your holding pens. Naruto's glare returned, but he didn't comment on it further, happy enough to see the enraged look pass over A's face. When I'm done, you'll vow to leave Uzushio and the Uzumaki clan alone. You do that, and I'll never again darken your doorstep without your invite, and I won't bring up this bullshit ever again. Naruto had figured out that A was a good leader to his people. He just didn't consider anyone outside of his village as equal to them. Too bad for him, Naruto was willing to do a lot for his own people and clan. I however had to fight down a growl that rose in his throat. I'll do whatever I deem necessary for Kumo. This is an act of war as far as I'm concerned. Yeah. I thought you'd think as much. Naruto finished off his drink and balanced the empty glass on a finger, taking his eyes off of the wreckage. So then here's the real deal. Flipping the glass into the air, with a thought, it froze in place. Naruto then turned Rinnegan eyes towards the wreckage, sage chakra also flowing through him while he settled an oppressive layer of killing intent on the larger man. You keep this up, if Kumo marches on Uzushio or its allies, I'll be back. And I will erase Kumo from existence. Chuckling and putting down his own glass, A shakes his head. My, you're actually no different from myself or Inoki, are you? You're just as willing to spill blood as all of the previous Kage before you. So much for peace. Letting his chakra dissipate, Naruto shrugged. I don't want it to be this way. But you and Inoki are old blood who refuse to see that the world is changing around you. Naruto let the glass go mentally, catching it in a hand to admire his reflection in its surface. You only respond to visceral amounts of violence. And well, I'm capable of giving you as much of that as you want. A leans back in his own seat, arms crossing as he considers his options. You won't be allowed to get away with this, one way or another. It was too bad, but A was going to have to smack down Uzushio sooner than expected. Hopefully they could make use of the Kyuubi in a new container afterwards. Naruto pretends to think about it, head tilting this way and that before the glass is again balanced on a fingertip. That secretary of yours, Mabui was it? Sweet girl, easy on the eyes. Twitching, A can feel something dark settle in his chest. You'd dash and the rest of your village. I wonder how they'll fare in the war you so desperately want. What about Team Samui? Your guard, Darui was it? What about them? Cold Eyes looked at A through the empty glass that Naruto held up. You know what I'm known for. I'm not like the other villages. I won't be coming back to lay siege to your mountain fortress. All it'll take is me, alone, and a single well-placed bomb. Naruto smirked finally as the wreckage began to tremble with barely held back rage. About the only one safe is Killer B. Where is he, by the way? You're hiding him away, aren't you? Standing and smashing a fist down into his desk, grit his teeth. I will personally grind you into a fine paste, you cocky brat. Hey, relax. You started this after all. Naruto ticked off with his fingers as he watched the enraged Kage. Never mind kidnapping the Uzumaki, which is a death sentence all on its own, but then sending the Sky Village to attack my home. Oh, can't forget kidnapping Hinataheim when she was younger, or the various atrocities you perpetuated on the Uzumaki over the years. Oh, and largest of all, helping with Uzushio's original destruction. Can't forget that. Naruto turned all his fingers over and gave a the bird. You have a lot to answer for, old man. In a blink, A is above Naruto, with his body wreathed in lightning with a fist cocked back for a final blow. In the next blink, A has crashed into the floor, shaking the very tower itself, while Naruto is settling himself in the wreckage's very plush chair. Maybe he could get one like this? Man, you're jumpy. You really can't handle someone getting one over on you for once, can you? Buffing his nails as a stands and turns back to face him, Naruto grins all the more, "You're fast, just not fast enough." Grunting and keeping his eyes locked on the blonde, "You're just like your father. You're quick when it comes to running away." Pausing in thought, Naruto decides the time for playing around was long over. Setting his glass down next to the Raikage Zone full one, Naruto stands slowly. "Look, I came here to offer you a chance to end things here as peacefully as we could. I didn't want to see more bloodshed between our villages, and I still don't. But from here on it's up to you. I'll respond accordingly to whatever you decide to do." Taking a deep sigh, Naruto turned sage-empowered Rinnegan eyes on I want peace. But I won't just roll over and die. You won't have a choice. Already in Naruto's personal space, brings his fist crashing down into his chair where Naruto had been standing. Instantly back up and turning back to where Naruto had been originally, he doesn't miss the massive chakra surrounding the boy. Just saying. This could have been peaceful. Chakra gathering in his palm, Naruto mentally called this meeting a dud. Shimmer Tensei. The outpouring of chakra obliterates the office. The Raikage launched at speed to crash through a building before landing in the street to create a crater there. Alarms sound throughout the village, and already I can see his ninja up in arms and swarming over the rooftops, several making for his office while a few were already alighting on the pavement around him. Unhurt for the moment but for his pride, the Raikage groaned as he stood. "Shifty brat. Keep it up, and I'll be back. I'm not opposed to using overwhelming force and fear to get my way. Not anymore." Naruto's voice wafted through his ears, "Before I can pinpoint where the boy is." Several ninja were around him now, but the questions that were flying fell on deaf ears as the Raikage considered his enemy's words. So the boy wanted to play in the big leagues, did he? Fine by him. Darui is there, pushing through the crowd as several fires spring up around the village. "Lord Raikage. Are we under attack?" A grunts, coming to his feet and waving off the assembled ninja, "See to any wounded and put out the fires, quickly." Several ninja give their compliance and race away, while A begins to walk back towards his office, Darui at his heels. "Put a team together to repair my office." Darui frowns, considering what he knew and what he had seen on the way here. "It was the Uzumaki, wasn't it, sir?" There were already reports that the fires were located at the holding pens. No one outside of the village knew about those. "Don't speculate, just do as I say for the moment." A's mind was already racing. The boy was able to sneak into his village unseen, steal away those captured Uzumaki, and hand him a solid loss in a quick fight. None of that information boded well for future battles, but A refused to stand down before that whelp. Feeling Darui still there, having delegated tasks to another lower ninja, A gave him more orders. "I want 2 teams put together. Specialized in infiltration and extraction." "Understood?" Darui nodded quickly. "It will be done." And then he was gone, leaving us standing in the street below his office, where he could just make out a giant smiling face painting in orange all over the tower. "Snotty brat. I'll show you Kumo's real might." It was time to impress Killer Bee on his duty to the village. Scene change, the sun was high, the waves crashed against the rocks of his personal training ground, and Naruto was all grins as his family and a few friends were all gathered together for his final surprise for a long while. Sakura and Sasuke stood on either side of him while all of the girls mingled and gathered before him. Behind them all Tsunade stood with deceptively calm hands on the shoulders of Hanabi and Konohamaru after having vowed to take the 2 home personally after all the trouble they had caused. Hadn't that been a surprise last night, but Hinata had been giddy all day because of their little visit and Naruto had been thankful for it. Now however, as the girls expressed their curiosity about why he summoned them all out here together, Naruto made enough clones for everyone before holding up a hand. "Just you wait. I want to show you something really special." This had been a work in secret for a while now after all, only sped up because of Sasuke and Sakura's arrival. Ino is next to Tayuya, grinning and bumping hips with the fiery girl. "Think we're getting a surprise vacation?" Ino easily hopped into her clone's arms, smirking at it. "How about a big guy?" "No can do, Ino." Tayuya hums at that. "It's been a while, think we'll go back to hot springs?" Her own clone pulled her into a soft hug from behind, eliciting a purr from her lips. Karen shakes her head. "No way. Maybe we're going on a major tour this time," he was muttering about the land of birds last night. Or it might have been vegetables. Or valleys. That continent had more than a few problems. Her own clone hugged her much as Tayuya's own did. Kotoheim hums at that, delighted to have her own younger sister with them even if Kin wouldn't stop fussing over her belly. I doubt Naruto would bring all of us outside of Uzushio right now, the worrywart. It was endearing really, if a little frustrating. Several clones joined up with the Riptide team as well as herself and Koyuki. Konohamaru grunted as a clone placed a hand on his shoulder. I'm in trouble, aren't I, Nisan? Like you wouldn't believe. You deserve it, Baka. Hanabi knew better than to mouth off to the powerful feeling clone that settled a hand on her shoulder as well. Certainly her sister would help her out later. Konohamaru grinned to the girl. You'll warm up to me eventually, Nabs. Nah, Nabs? It's Hanabi. Huh. Nah. Bye. Don't assume to be so familiar with me, monkey. See, there it is, there's my nickname. And maybe I'll start calling you Firecracker then. Squawking and caught off guard, Hanabi was left speechless for a moment. Eventually, she took a deep breath to really wind up for a tirade before the clone with her flicked her on the forehead. What was that for you, oaf? A free hand came up to rub at the sore spot. Chill out, Firecracker, the show is about to start. Tsunade did her best to ignore the strong chest that hugged her from behind, what with her hands occupied at the moment. I'm going to bash both you brats into the floor if you don't quiet down. And possibly Naruto as well, this was his fault after all. Watching as the rest of the group was joined by a clone, Naruto raised a hand. You'll all just have to wait and see. And with a thought, they all flashed away. In the next breath, the entire group was settled in a heavily wooded area, though they could still smell the sea air and hear waves in the distance. Curious as the clones all let their passengers go, Naruto waved them off and the clones rushed away to parts unknown. Naruto was in front of everyone still, grinning and holding his arms out wide. Welcome one and all, this is a very special place I'd like to introduce you to, so please, follow me. Ino notes as they walk several varieties of plants and flowers that lined their little path, which was carefully cobblestoned. I know most of these are Land of Fire native. But taking a look at the thin but dark wood trees around them, those were certainly yuzu trees. Where are we? Next to her, Hinata is doing her best to refrain from using her Byakugan, not wanting to spoil Naruto's surprise. We haven't traveled far, I don't think. We must still be in Yuzu. Tayuya is on the other side of Hinata as they walk along, admiring all the greenery while casting glances at Team 7 who were bantering back and forth with easy laughter. We are. I don't know exactly which island, but I remember seeing a survey report that described a heavily forested island. Putting a hand to her temple as if to massage the answers out of her brain, Tayuya eventually gave it up. Whiskers has been keeping a secret. A surprise? Not a secret. Naruto called out as they continued to walk, while just behind him Naruko and Fu are almost bouncing in place. Naruto notices and wags a finger their way, and no flying off. This is a surprise for everyone in the family. You'll get to explore, don't worry. Fu puffed out her cheeks, spoil sport. Naruko laughed and hugged the girl to her side. I'm sure it'll be fine. Like he said, we'll get to explore later. Onoka raises a hand. Did you find something special out here? Karen nods her head along, like a private hot spring. That gets a few murmurs from the group. Chuckling, Naruto shook his head. It's just ahead, just be patient. Tayuya is still watching Team 7 while the rest of the group finally settles in and just enjoys the peaceful walk. She pokes Ino in the side to gain her attention. I have a feeling Sakura and Sasuke have some idea of what's up. They're too calm. Ino starts to pay attention to the group, eventually nodding with Tayuya's estimation of things. You're right. They're moving like they've been here before. Hinata hums at that. What could be out here that Naruto would show them first, but not us? Hinata didn't think Naruto would have been doing anything dangerous out here, but even still, he was known to go overboard. The group breaks through the tree line, seeing that they were actually rather high up on a hill. This gave them a view of a high-walled district laid out before them, a large lake towards the rear of which, while at the main gate several of Naruto's clones could be seen running away. Here Naruto turned with Sakura and Sasuke, a wide smile still on his face. Everyone could easily see the Uchiha crest on one door of the main gate, but the Uzumaki crest on the other was a surprise. Sasuke coughed to gain everyone's attention. Welcome to the Uchiha district, moved here from Konoha, by myself and Naruto. Well, mostly Naruto. Teamwork, brother, teamwork. Anyway. Sasuke accepted Sakura's hand in his, enjoying the gentle squeeze from her as reassurance. Originally, I had wanted to leave it all alone, as a monument to the lives lost of my clan. But, after some thinking and watching what Uzushio has become, I decided against that idea. The dead wouldn't want to see their homes crumble to dust after all. Instead, I'd rather see the Uchiha honored by the living, much as the Uzumaki fallen would. So. Sasuke turns to look out at the sprawling district, with a few additions on the far side of the lake, so myself and Naruto came up with an idea. We planned on joining the Uzumaki and Uchiha clans anyway, so why not start here? I have my family home, so why turn the rest of the district into a private clan compound for all of us? That set the entire group buzzing, and Sasuke nodded to Naruto, who motioned everyone forwards. Down the hill they went, entering the district through the wide-open gates, while following after the quiet Team 7. There was less banter here while everyone took in the refurbished homes and shops, empty for now, but in the future? Well, who knew? It was a few minutes before they moved through the main district, reaching the Uchiha clan home where Sasuke and Sakura peeled off from the group. We have some cleaning up to do ourselves, but we'll be along shortly. Sakura winked at Amaru, don't worry, we won't be long. Naruto turned back to also wink at the girl, you're free to hang here first if you like. Amaru shook her head, no I want to see it. They all could see the massive 3-storied home on the other side of the lake, and everyone had their own idea of what Naruto had planned. As they continued on, Amaru glanced back only once to see Sakura and Sasuke wave them away, before disappearing into their home. Another few minutes of walking brought them to a truly massive home with a well-kept front yard nestled between two wings of the home. Behind such was a training ground and what looked like a natural hot spring. But as Naruto led them to the front doors, he paused to again turn and address them all. So I've loved the Uzumaki mansion, and don't get me wrong, I don't want to move out of it completely. But I thought having an actual home for the Uzumaki clan felt really important to have. We're going to have kids on the way, and they should be able to have a safe and out-of-the-way place to be able to run around and grow. Not in the middle of that super busy city. So for us, and future generations, I built this home for all of us. Naruto looked up to the 3-story home built of deep red woods and dark supporting oak. Stone was used at the lower foundations, but everything was styled in a very Konoha way that everyone took notice of. Tayuya is the first to raise a hand, when did you have the time for this? She had been watching him, and he hadn't been running off to slack off. Sure, he had made a few clones here and there, but nothing that would allow this. It was Karen who snapped her fingers, this is what you've been making all those clones for. Seeing she had everyone's attention, she pointed a finger at the bashful Naruto. Late at night I'd catch him flashing away for a bit, and when he returned he would always be low on chakra like he just had a shitload of clones. Language. Everyone paused as Tayuya's voice echoed out near instantly. Seeing the raised eyebrows from everyone else, said woman slowly realized what she had said, I've been around the school teachers too much. Ino chuckled as Naruto stepped forward to slide open the front doors, to think she used to be the crass one. She wouldn't knock the Uzumaki girl for her transformation. Life was just strange like that sometimes. Journeying down the clean and fresh entrance hallway, Naruto leads them to a large main seating and gathering area. So, one last thing, but I decided to make a little trip the other night. Getting ahead of them, Naruto waiting for all of the group to gather at the hallway to be greeted by the Uzumaki remnants that he had saved from Kumo. The Raikage sends his regards, by the way. Eyes wide, Tayuya, Karen, Amaru, and Onoka especially are more than a little surprised by the 11 other Uzumaki clan members standing in a cluster behind a proud-looking Naruto. Mostly women of varying ages, though most looked to be in their 20s or 30s, there was one young boy hiding behind one of the younger girls, and another elderly man leaning heavily against a fresh and brand new cane. Dressed in deep blue and red robes, they all to a one bowed deeply to the group. It is a matronly woman, red hair cut short and age lines running down her cheeks, to step forward to come next to Naruto. Naruto-sama, again we would like to thank you profusely for saving us from that nightmare. Naruto waves her off, grin still unable to leave his face, your family Kikyo. I'd burn hell to the ground to come and save you if needed. Naruto turns back to the group, seeing a few tears in the girl's eyes, I know I was reckless here, but at least now we can focus on us. Screw Kumo and Iwa. Our family is finally whole, or at least, as whole as we can make it. Naruto turned to address the survivors directly, this is your home now, and I don't expect anything from any of you. Live how you want. Laze about, heal, find some new meaning to what you want to do, don't do anything. It doesn't matter, so long as you can find a new happiness here. Seeing his emotions were in fact running high, Tsunade sighed and stepped forward while holding up a hand, if you don't know me, I'm Tsunade, Hokage and also a leading medical specialist. If you'd like, I like to give all of you checkups while I'm here. Getting multiple agreements after a few furtive glances Naruto's way, Tsunade was led away by a Naruto clone with a few of the women to a room off to the side. Naruto himself watched the two groups come together, his girls easily reassuring the newly arrived Uzumaki along with fawning over the nervous boy who looked a few years younger than Konohamaru and Hanabi. That said, as Naruto distanced himself and let the groups mingle, he didn't miss the elderly man hobble his way slowly. You should rest, sir, you've been through a lot. Like you wouldn't believe, son. But it's a story that'll die with me. Heavy is my shame. Tired blue eyes held Naruto's own, and the man bowed to the Uzumaki clan head deeply. My lord, I have but one request. Naruto nods as some of the girls break off, beginning to explore the massive house while Konohamaru and Hanabi convince the younger boy to play out in the backyard. Sure thing, name it and I'll make it happen. Naruto turns to give the elder his full and undivided attention. Shame crossed the elder's face, before with a deep breath he pulled himself back together, a firm resolve there, as one ninja to another. I have but one last mission to complete, if you'll allow. Seeing Naruto nod slowly, his grip on his cane tightens. On my name, Shokiro of Dust, I'd like to pay vengeance upon Kumo. Shokiro. Naruto paused from immediately refusing the request. He knew that Kumo wouldn't let things go, and he knew there was going to be violence one way or another. However, the thought of sacrificing anyone from his clan was unbearable. Even this elder, who was well past his prime. The man was hunched, back bent not only under his own weight, but Naruto suspected a long life of shame and regrettable actions. When the time comes, I'll let you drop the hammer. That is all that I ask, Lord Uzumaki. The clan will go far under your care. Here Shokiro takes a step back, lowering himself to the floor to bow and place his forehead at Naruto's feet while around them the room went silent as everyone else watched on. I accept you, Naruto Uzumaki, as the clan's head and heir. Please, do us and our ancestors proud. Naruto watches as many of the others, including his own girls, bow deeply at the waist in their own show of support, making Naruto grunt but accept it all the same. Returning the bow, deeply at the waist, he mentally promised to make sure Kumo felt the hurt for what they did. On my honor, the Uzumaki clan will not fade into history. Never again will we allow the world to break us apart. Returning to his full height and helping Shokiro to his feet, Naruto held up a fist and cheered, but enough of the sad stuff. Tonight is a celebration. We're all together finally. Let's relax and have some real fun. Getting cheers from the others, Naruto hands Shokiro off to a clone, to be helped off to a comfortable-looking lounge chair. Watching on, Naruto decides that for the first time in a long time, everything just felt right. Complete. He dared anyone to try and break them apart now. Naruto wanted to grumble about this particular responsibility, really he did. It wasn't his fault his luck was the way it was, and yet, Tayuya and Ino had been rather contrite about informing him about Yujito's rather interesting criteria for releasing information on Kumo. So here he was, knocking on her door, to a rather comfortable-looking apartment not all that far from the Uzumaki Tower. He needed to toss some of this luck Sasuke's way, or hell even Kakashi's way. Anyone else but him at this point. Answering the door, Yujito pulled her blue robe tightly around her but was a bit surprised to see Naruto there cursing under his breath. Giggling at the sight and startling him out of his musings, she stood back and motioned him inside. Lord Uzumaki, welcome to my home. Yujito watched him enter, before closing the door and leading him further inside to her living room. Though she was still a bit low on furniture, there was no shortage of paintings and artwork that decorated the walls. Sorry, I wasn't exactly expecting any visitors. She was getting comfortable in the city, but she had yet to make any close friends just yet. Opening up to people would take some time. Naruto nods, sitting down on a light green couch as Yujito set about making tea in her kitchen off to his left. No worries, I should have called ahead. Naruto fidgeted, still unsure about all of this. Somehow, I blame you. Can't help being awesome. Somehow I don't think that description fits. Good thing you aren't a thinker anyway. Asshole. Dunce. Kurama was quick to laugh as their connection dimmed to the background again. Naruto needed to focus. Naruto tapped his hand on the armrest of the couch, admiring some of the work Yujito had made before settling on a painting she had apparently been working on, a great tiger encircled around a small and frail girl. Huh. You've got some real talent with art, Yujito. I bet you could go really far with this. Thank you, but I'm unsure about, well, everything. Coming out of the kitchen and setting down her tray of tea on the low table in front of them, Yujito sat down next to the Yuzukage with a smile. I've never lived a civilian life before. It's both stifling and freeing in its own ways. Every day isn't a life and death struggle now. Yujito nods quickly, yes, there is that. They lapsed into silence for a moment, Yujito wringing her hands together before sighing and reaching out to grasp one of Naruto's hands into her own. I'll get right to this, I do not wish to force you to do anything you do not truly wish to do. Don't talk him out of this. Ride that super stud until our pelvis breaks. The Matatabi had her own thoughts on the matter, though Yujito did her best to ignore her for the moment. Naruto only chuckled, Kurama in his own head laughing up a storm, something tells me you've had to make a few concessions yourself. Seeing Yujito nod and focus on his hand, Naruto ran a thumb over her rough knuckles, look I don't mind, mainly because the girls set this up, not me. It's not like you aren't beautiful after all, any guy would be lucky to have you. I just, don't want you to regret anything. Sighing again, Yujito shook her head, whatever this is. I can say confidently that I do not love you, Lord Uzumaki. I'm not looking to be tied down, or love, or companionship. This is just my Biju wanting some fun and me making amends for doing something rather terrible to her. Naruto nods, yeah, I get that. Looking into his eyes finally, Yujito smirked for the first time in a long while, plus, I've heard you are rather good at what you do. Blushing and looking away, Naruto groans, you've been talking to the girls then. A lady tsunami actually. Giggling as Naruto's groan increased, she couldn't help but feel warm inside. This was calming. Natural. Something a normal woman would get up to, not a Jinchuriki capable of destroying villages. Leaning back and letting her robe open just a bit, a blush began to form on her own face, all that said, could we not pretend, just for tonight? Seeing Naruto's gaze lock onto her, Yujito thanked everything that the Matatabi was being silent. Could you not treat me like one of your wives, just for tonight? Naruto decided that he was not going to complain anymore about tonight, because Naruto was a man and knew just how lucky he really was. Just for tonight? I can do that, Yujito-hime. Feeling her face flush even more, she pulled him towards her slowly, could you say that again? His eyes were a rather mesmerizing shade of blue. Yujito-hime? Yes. Again. She didn't mind his rough hand opening up her robe a bit more, it was rather warm at the moment. Sure thing, Yujito-hime. As much as you like. It was going to be a long night. Chapter 70. Naruto gave thanks that Uzushio was an island nation. The sun was high and warm, the sandy beach radiated more natural heat into his back and the view of scantily clad women was always worth it. Chuckling as he laid back under an umbrella to relax fully, body automatically in sage mode in such a natural state, he gave further thanks that things were peaceful. On either side of him, Tayuya and Koyuki were chatting together about plans for the city as well as diplomatic relations. In the distance, they can see a good portion of the Foxden girls playing in the surf, while around them but giving them space are other beachgoers from Yuzu. I think this is the first time in a long while I've seen you actually give in and be lazy. Tayuya poked Naruto in the side, barely getting a wiggle out of the glowing man. It's weird. You girls are always harping about me taking it easy, so I've finally decided to do so. Naruto was low on stress at the moment. Kyumo was emptied of Uzumaki slaves. Akatsuki's numbers were dwindling, and Iwa most likely wouldn't try anything for a while. He had time to bask in the sun. Tayuya poked him again, you say that, but I feel like you've got something up your sleeves, so to speak. Watching his well-defined chest rise and fall, Tayuya felt her chakra stir in response to his own sage chakra and smiled. I've got to learn how to do that. Spend a few months with the toads eating bugs and gruel. Naruto chuckled at the face Tayuya made, before they all turned to see a cheering Amaru. Fu and Naruko were competing against Sakura and Sasuke, doing of all things, building a sand castle. Koyuki couldn't help but giggle, are they children on vacation? Tayuya grumbles, Fu certainly fits the part. Ignoring them for the moment, Naruto mentally taps Kurama awake, curious about what the ancient Biju thought about what they should attend to next. So big guy, think we're in the clear for a while? Momentarily, yeah. Just remember, they'll be coming at you with something more subtle from here on. Ano's not to fight you one-on-one. And Inoki was never going to anyway. Assassins, great. Either that, or a kidnapping attempt. I have something in mind for that. It had been a while since Naruto had gotten inventive with seals. Perhaps he should try something new. I've been thinking, with my Sage Chakra and Rinnegan abilities, I should be able to hunt for any more remaining Uzumaki, right? Yes, though I doubt you'll find more. You know how hard it was to find who you did. Plus, it's not like you can leave home now. Yeah, that's true. Naruto sniffed and shifted his back. He was rather sore at the moment. Hopefully with the news of Uzushio rebuilt and the Uzumaki clan returned, any more remaining members will make the journey here themselves. Either that or nefarious actors might capture them and attempt to use them against you. Point. Naruto could see that happening as well in this world. It was disgusting knowing that people were willing to heap such atrocities on one another, and for what? Power? Prestige? Honor? Humans. Such a disease. What's wrong, Naruto? Your thoughts have been off lately. Kurama was beginning to worry. Battle maniac he may be, Naruto was usually his moral center. That was beginning to change. Just maybe you were right in the beginning. I'm the strongest, or going to be. Why should I concern myself with the likes of Kumo, or Iwa? Taking a deep breath, chakra subtly linking with all of his family around him and forcing himself to center his mind, he gave thanks that they didn't notice the minor intrusion. Well, Ino was looking his way, but seemed content to let it go. I just want things to end peacefully, is that so wrong? Of course not. Just remember you were the one who said ruling with fear was not the Uzumaki way. It's a quick way to be overthrown by your people. You aren't wrong. Thanks Kurama, for listening to me gripe. For my efforts, how about breaking that little kitty cat again? She was something scrumptious. And I'm leaving you, old pervert. Naruto opened his eyes and did his best to ignore Kurama's cackling. Dirty old pervert, he was as bad as Jiraiya. Koyuki had a hand threaded into his own, turning to look at him as his breathing changed. Back with us, love? Yeah, sorry about that. Glow fading around his body, Naruto sat up to watch the rest of the family. I miss anything? Shaking her head and squeezing his hand, Koyuki nodded ahead towards the waves where Ino and Hinata were playing around with Karen and Onoka. Just some fun. Turning to face him again, her features softened. What has you so concerned? Huh? Nothing. Tayuya poked him again, her black one-piece twisting a bit as she turned to him. Don't, we all felt your chakra just a moment ago. We know something's up. Sighing and seeing Koyuki nod, Naruto gave up hiding it, just worried about the future is all. I wish this could be easy. Tayuya snorted, it could be whiskers, wipe out Kumo, smack Iwa around and put them in their place and let the rest of the world know it's peace or your foot on their back. Of course, Tayuya knew they couldn't go full bore like that, but the thought was nice. Contrary to her thoughts, Naruto nodded slowly, it is a plan. Koyuki poked him this time, no. Bad Naruto. No taking over the world. But Tayuya's on board with it. Naruto wasn't whining, not at all. Koyuki sighed and poked him again, no. Giggling as Naruto exaggerated his pouting before pulling her into his lap with a squawk. Hey. Let's get you double pregnant. It doesn't work that way, you idiot. Laughing up a storm as he began to tickle her, Koyuki smacked him in the chest, let me go. Tayuya, help me. No way, you dissed my plan. Suffer. Tayuya smirked and waved to the others, giving an all-clear motion. Most likely they as well had been worried about Naruto for a moment when his chakra brushed against theirs. What an odd ability. Having been face down and napping this whole time, Cheyenne groaned and looked back at the flirting pair. Can we include uniting my homeland under Uzushio in that plan? Tayuya nods, sounds good to me. I think Naruto was planning on making a team out of you, Naruko, Fu, and Koyuki, to handle things out there. Cheyenne hummed at that. Naruko was an interesting one, but as Naruto-sama's sister, she certainly would be dependable. I do have to return home for a short while, so the least we can do is make it a productive trip. Looking over her shoulder and seeing Naruto ease up on Koyuki, Cheyenne grabbed his attention by wiggling her hips. Oh Naruto-sama. I could use some suntan lotion on my back. She would forever be grateful for the daring little white two-piece Hinata and Ino had convinced her to buy. It was certainly doing the job. Letting Koyuki roll away to catch her breath, Naruto levered himself up to give Cheyenne just what she asked for. Sure thing. Tayuya again snorted, push over. Watching Naruto for a moment, she instead tried to get her own thoughts back on track. Hey, Naruto. Sensing something off in her tone, Naruto continued to oil up Cheyenne's back much to her delight, but he did turn an ear to the redhead. What's up, Tachan? What are we going to do about Akatsuki? Do you really think they'll leave us alone? No. No, I don't think they'll leave us alone. Naruto sighed as his thoughts fell into place slowly, less depression this time. Pain is set on the thought that the elemental nations cannot exist without conflict. There's a chance he may not wait to see us even begin to come together in some way. Tayuya snorted, you obliterating Kumo and Iwa would certainly prove him right. Yeah. Yeah, it would. And wasn't that a kick in the balls? Naruto was doing his best not to see the world in the same way Pain did. But try as he might, he was beginning to fail in that task if not for his family continuing to encourage him. In the end though, whether it is Pain, Inoki, or anyone that threatens or attacks us will be destroyed. I can't do anything less anymore. Naruto perked up as Hinata, Ino, Karen and Anoka were jogging their way. So much tantalizing skin. Tayuya has to sigh, her own mind racing with the knowledge that even with their best efforts, war might be on the horizon. So long as we have each other, that's enough, right? Koyuki leaned into her from her side, nodding quietly, absolutely. Finishing up and moving back, Naruto admired his work and the puddle that Cheyenne had become. You good there? Take me Naruto-sama. Huh, maybe later. Naruto shook his head as Cheyenne drifted back to sleep, the warm sand probably doing most of the work there. He isn't given time to rest, however, as Ino tackles him around the middle. Dropped on his back, his chest is suddenly full of shapely blonde. We do remember we are in public, yes? Wiggling her hips once for the fun of it, Ino instead levels a mischievous grin towards her husband. Well, I actually has a proposal for you. No more. I think 10 is more than enough, thank you. My heart needs a break. Naruto accepted the smack to his chest easily, off the mark. Blushing and laughing, Ino nodded, way off. Actually me, Hinata and Anoka are thinking about taking a few missions, if you don't mind. Doesn't sound like a big ask, what are you thinking about getting up to? Naruto watched as Ino's grin changed a bit and he turned eyes to a bashful-looking Hinata and a pointedly staring away from him Anoka. Oh, this'll be good. Just some lower-level bounties. Nothing crazy. Honest. Ino could feel his body tense up under him. Okay, so maybe one on the list is an S-class, but everyone else is A or below. Ah yes, that makes it all better. Naruto tried hard not to grumble about it, but he could see and feel that the girls really wanted to go out and get their hands dirty, and he really couldn't fault them for that. So long as all of you get the Hiraishin down so you can use it in an emergency, I won't complain too much. Ino cheered, throwing a fist in the air, easy peasy. Naruto has been training with us with it. Has she now? Naruto would have to step up his training with his little sister. So where are these bounties? That got Ino to stop dancing in place, and even Hinata was fully looking away now while chuckling nervously. Oh, I'm going to love this, aren't I? Land of Fire? Try again. Okay, so border of Land of Fire. I feel like we're getting closer now. Ino huffed, crossing her arms under her bust. Does the location even really matter? Seeing Naruto raise his eyebrows at her, she bounces in place once, boob distraction? Seeing his frown begin to deepen, she eventually cracks, okay, so they might be between fire and stone. There's the other shoe. Naruto sighs heavily, thinking about it for all of a second. So long as you really do learn how to use the Hiraishin, I'll leave it alone. Do not trespass into Iwa. I really will be forced to wipe them off the map. Ino cheered again, Riptide Team 2 is back in action. Tayuya grumbled, sure wish I could get out to do a mission. Ino pointed a finger towards her, you're the one who wanted to get knocked up. Blame yourself. I blame the idiot. Same thing. Ino gave a cheeky reply, before running off with Tayuya hot on her heels, laughing the whole way. Left alone, Naruto sat up and accepted Hinata coming to sit at his side, leaning into his shoulder. You'll be careful, right? Naruto asked quickly as Anoka came to shimmy into his lap. Hinata nods, of course darling. Iwa won't even know we were there. She threaded a hand into his, we'll come home safely, that's a promise. We don't break promises around here. On our word, we will come home. Naruto grinned and leaned over to kiss her softly, good. Turning away and missing Hinata turn nearly completely red, Naruto relaxed again. Sure, things weren't completely calm, but life was good. Real good. Scene change a few days later and walking next to the ever-surprising blonde, Karen honestly wanted to be down in the basement levels of the tower for a more fun reason. No, they couldn't be headed to her workshop, and oh no, they couldn't be headed to mess with Heiden's talking head. No, today Naruto decided that he needed to do something with Kabuto. She didn't want to be anywhere near the snake, but she was also one of the few who knew the snake and could be objective about what to do with him. Naruto himself walked with his hands linked behind his back, long battle jacket on and clothes recently cleaned. His mind was as focused as it could be for the moment. Do I even want to ask what you recommend we do with him? We don't need him for anything, but having him locked up down here is getting rather old. Karen nods, adjusting her glasses as they walked down empty but well-lit corridors. Tayuya recommends killing him. Karen did as well, but kept that quiet. Naruto nods. If he deserved that, I would. But from the information we've gathered, he's had a rather shit time of it, hasn't he? Naruto thought back on it. Kabuto had been orphaned, raised by a woman running said orphanage, ended up getting scouted by Danzo of all people. From there it had gone from bad to worse. Being sent on missions earlier than most, but ending up having to kill the woman that raised him. From there he got passed around by Orochimaru, Danzo, and Sasori at one point. Never mind all the heinous actions he had eventually been a part of. Maybe he wouldn't have turned out so bad if someone had given him a real chance. Karen shrugged. Maybe. Maybe not. We'll never know because we can't change the past. Karen sighed as they found the final stairwell leading to the cell block. You sure you don't want to have a quickie in a storage closet back the way we came? She leaned into Naruto and gave him her best flirtatious look. Karen-chan needs her Uzumaki-sama. Getting a squeak out of the girl as he pulled her into his side, Naruto shook his head with a short laugh. Be good and you just might get what you're looking for later. Business first. Nodding with a smile, Karen did allow him to let her go. Just remember, screwed up by those monsters or not, Kabuto did still experiment on people and kill droves of them. Naruto nods as the light level dims, but they can hear very off-key singing from up ahead. Murder is the ninja's art. But I hear you. Just remember he did try to help us in his own way. If only to save his skin. Another point. Naruto sighed as the singing became more clear, a jaunty sailor's shanty that was only half remembered by Naruto's estimation. Did you really have to put Haiden right next to him? You said I couldn't torture him. Karen gave him an innocent smile as Naruto heaved another heavy sigh, plus I needed some sealing practice. I can only imagine what you did. Passing rows of empty cells, Naruto and Karen first come upon the talking head of Haiden. There wasn't much left of him, just a talking head sat upon a pedestal with intricate seals running up and down its length glowing in a mixture of greens and reds. Oi, shut up will you? Stopping his singing, Haiden turned enraged eyes towards the blonde. You whore's son. Jashin will smite you and devour your soul soon. Just you wait and see. You and those harlots you surround yourself with. In fact, why don't you come in here? I'll gnaw your face off. Coward. Fight me. No balls. Rolling her eyes, Karen steps forward to give the captured Akatsuki member a hard look. Do I need to remind you who's keeping you alive right now? Shut it. Dog. Glasses glinting, the young woman grins at the look of intense fear that instantly forms on Haiden's face. Yes, mistress. Haiden's cell was suddenly very, very quiet. While Naruto turned an arched eyebrow towards his wife. Do I want to know? You can spank it out of me later? Sighing and decided that no, he didn't want to know. Well, right this second anyway. Turning to continue on, Naruto and Karen come to stand before a quiet but kneeling Kabuto. Been a while, Kabuto. Can I just thank you for shutting him up? To Naruto, Kabuto looked comfortable for the most part, if heavily sealed and dressed in a brown prison jumpsuit. To what do I owe the honor? A visit from the Yuzukage himself was not something I ever expected. Am I finally to be executed? The Uzumaki clan does not kill just because it is convenient. If I did kill you, it would be because you absolutely deserved it. Folding his hands together behind his back, Naruto sighed but looked down on the kneeling Kabuto. But, right now I don't think you do. You gave us information that helped in the recovery of Uzumaki clan members. If only for that, you deserve at least my thanks. So. Thank you, Kabuto, for being good to your word. Kabuto chuckled but bowed his head all the same. I do that quite often. Tell the truth, that is. Karen stood off to the side, though both men caught her mumbling about broken clocks. Naruto still was here for a reason and continued to eye Kabuto. Look. Here's the deal. You are going to have your chakra sealed, but in exchange you will have some modicum of freedom. Naruto hooked a thumb over his shoulder towards the glasses-wearing redhead. You'll be under her supervision and are not to leave her side unless directed by her to someone else to watch you. Someone will be with you at all hours of the day. Got that? That is a most kind offer, considering the circumstances. Kabuto eyed Naruto with some suspicion, wondering if this was yet another moment where he would be used and abused. What did I do to deserve this? Naruto sniffs and puts his hands on his hips. You got a shit deal. I thought I had it bad, but you've really had one shitty time after another. Unlike me, you had no one to help you out. So even though no one truly trusts you at the moment, I think you deserve at least one chance. Naruto's eyes harden here, wanting to get his point across, but only one. Fact is, you did do a lot of horrible shit, and I'm not going to blindly believe everyone is redeemable. You throw this chance away, and not even hell will be far enough for you to escape my wrath. Shuffling on his knees and continuing to eye Naruto while the bun-haired Karen looked down on him with nothing but scorn, Kabuto weighed his options. Granted, staying in this cell with his only long-term company being a literal talking head didn't sound like a good way to spend the rest of his days. But was this a false path to freedom? Naruto didn't seem the type to betray him, but power changed everyone. Kabuto did want to be out of here, however, and whatever it took to make that happen was worth it. Bowing and placing his forehead on the floor, Kabuto decided to give this a chance. I accept your terms. Nodding once, Naruto relaxed just a tad. I know this is heavy-handed and not something I would normally do, but one day I'd like to see you leave. I've given a lot of people second chances, and I haven't had many regrets yet. So hopefully, so long as the world continues to trend towards peace, one day you too will have your freedom. Kabuto finally cracks a grin. Then I hope the world does one day know peace. Kabuto doesn't see the clone Naruto has made, but he does feel the chop to his neck. He's unconscious before he hits the floor, while Naruto and Karen turn to each other. Welp, while the clone gets about setting up seals and the like, let me say this. Naruto brings Karen in for a tight hug where she settles in easily. If for any reason you don't want this responsibility. If he so much as breathes wrong, you tell me and I'll stuff him in a hole so deep he'll never see the light of day again. Honestly, really considering it, Karen had to remind herself that Orochimaru was well and truly dead. That Kabuto was not his former master, and he had in fact helped them recover their family. Sighing, she as well needed to remember that Naruto had given the likes of her and Tayuya second chances, and look where they were now. Could she deny Kabuto a single chance? It will be hard, yeah, but like I get where you're coming from. It's the right thing to do, giving him a chance to redeem himself. Karen turned kind eyes up to the smiling Naruto. You gave all of us a second chance. Most of Uzushio is full of ninja working on their own redemption. Why can't Kabuto get his own chance? Good. I want you on board if we do this. Just, maybe don't give him the heightened treatment? Karen giggled as Naruto steered them away, back down the hallway from whence they came. No promises, but I will give him a fair chance. She'd be locking him in her workshop in the basement for now. He had a sharp mind, and she did have a few projects where some extra eyes would be beneficial. She'd have to get Onoka up to speed on him first. But that was for later. So, about that quickie? Rolling his eyes, Naruto relented and picked the woman up in a bridal carry. You know what, you earned it. Where's that closet? Yay. Scene change. Obito knew that his mind wasn't all there. Being crushed by a boulder, watching his team move on without him. Watching his first love be killed by someone he considered a brother and working towards a goal to enact his own worldview on the rest of the world. No, he knew he was broken. That said, he considered that relying on Kuratsuchi of all people for directions was a stupid idea even for him. The highest of all mistakes really. They had been able to charter a ship from Kiri to Yuzu easily enough, but then he had made his mistake, letting the woman lead the way once they had arrived. Now he stood, far away from the docks, but somehow never meeting a single person since they had left the crowded area. Surrounded by warehouses and storage facilities, Obito had a moment of true clarity. This woman somehow had to be using time/space ninjutsu. It was the only way it all made sense. Proving his point, they left a rather clean alleyway to come out onto a busy street. Shops and restaurants populated the area aplenty, and Obito couldn't get over the sudden increase in noise and smells. It was such a vibrant place, a tourist trap to be sure. But they found civilization at least as he reached forward and pulled a confused Kuratsuchi back behind him. I'm leading from now on. But, I know where I'm going. We circled the same warehouse 3 times in a row. I don't think you could find your way out of a closet. That only happened once. Kuratsuchi blushed as several passerby looked at her strangely, though her embarrassment increased as the masked man turned to look at her in complete silence. Just once. That doesn't make it better. Obito took note of several samurai walking the streets, some of which were eyeing them but saying nothing, nor were they approaching them. We need to move. Finally, at least Obito considered that they had made it to Yuzu, and he could be rid of this walking catastrophe. Let her run off and get the stuffing beaten out of her by the Kage. He didn't know a thing about Naruto as the Uzukage, but even he knew enough that if the rest of the major villages were leaving Uzushio alone, that had to mean he had power. Shuddering as he remembered vividly what an angry Kushina could do, he didn't want to consider a child of hers as any less frightening. No, while he was after the Sanbai, he would be doing his best to stay under the radar and avoid combat with the Uzumaki for now. Which meant leaving Kuratsuchi to her fate, something he was more than happy to do. Dressed in a more normal traveling cloak though still with his bright orange mask, Obito spotted what looked like a hotel and made his way towards it, idly snagging Kuratsuchi by the collar as she attempted to dive back into the alley. We need somewhere to stay, yes? Wasn't there a hotel back this way? Kuratsuchi pouted as the man physically turned her to see a tall and well-designed hotel not far from them. Oh yeah, that's it. Focus, I said I would help you, but I can't fix everything. Oh dear, you've been lost for a while, I'm happy to see we found you. Startling the pair, a long black-haired woman dressed much like a housewife materialized between them, a happy smile on her face while holding a clipboard. You failed to register when you stepped off your charter, and we do have rules about that sort of thing. Kuratsuchi and Obito look at each other for a moment, having stopped on the sidewalk along with this strange woman. How had neither of them sensed her? Kuratsuchi however decided to argue, we're not here to cater to whatever weird ideas you have. Obito shoves her aside, coughing once into a fist. Toby is sorry for her. Toby tries to help but she's a little Toby made a motion at the side of his head to which the woman nodded slowly, yes, slow. Toby is Toby, from the land of rivers. She is Kuratsuchi, from Iwa. Toby watched as the woman jotted down their information with a bright smile before taking a single step back and bowing to them. Please enjoy your stay and follow the rules. Here she stands and hands a pamphlet to Toby, who takes it with raised eyebrows. It's all rather simple, but you will be punished accordingly if you break the rules. Have fun, and please, don't wander off again. Bowing once more, Tsunami decided they were the oddest pair she had met recently before she melted back into the moving crowds. She needed to go check on Tazuna and make sure he wasn't corrupting Inari. Reading the pamphlet quickly, Toby ignores the suddenly curious Kuratsuchi who has her arms crossed. That woman was creepy. Who the hell could sneak up on them so easily? They were veteran ninja, that shouldn't be possible. Toby however goes back to walking, snagging his companion to keep her from wandering off. For now you should lay low and figure out a surefire way to draw out the maelstrom. Best not get arrested before completing your mission. Kuratsuchi grinned and pumped a fist in the air. That's easy. She could almost hear Toby's neck crack with how quickly he turned to face her. Well, the maelstrom is the Kage of this place, right? And the Kage has to defend his home. So like, I was thinking. By the kami, save me. As I was thinking. Kuratsuchi was satisfied by the grunt Toby let out when she elbowed him, that if I cause enough ruckus, he would have to come to me, right? So I level a few buildings, maybe blow up a ship or two, and bing bang boom the maelstrom comes to stop me and I kick his ass in front of his people. Coming to a stop within spitting distance of the hotel, Toby sighed quietly to himself. What did Toby do to deserve this? Was this diving punishment? It felt like it. Question for you. Huh? Sure, but hurry up, I need to get to smashing things. How long had she been away from home anyway? Grandpa might be worried about her by now. Did you consider that you would be intercepted by a literal flood of ninja before the maelstrom is even notified about your rampage? Obito sighed while feeling the weight of having to explain a really simple concept to a child. Between ninja guards, those samurai, and whatever that woman was that snuck up on us, you would be ripped to shreds right away. Kuratsuchi hummed in thought, you might have a point. That woman still weirded her out. Okay, well, if you're so smart, why don't you come up with a plan, bestie? We are not besties. Obito again had to snag Kuratsuchi by the wrist. The name of the game is subtle. Be subtle. Nodding quickly, Kuratsuchi grins brightly and reverses his hold, taking him by the wrist and dragging him into the hotel. Got it, be sneaky first, then blow things up. Gotcha gotcha. First things first, we need a place to stay. Kuratsuchi turned back to smile at him, you promised to help me, so no running away from this. Letting the woman drag him inside, Obito decided that so long as she could keep things quiet and peaceful, he would stick around. It gave him time to scout and research the area. Hopefully he could find the Sambai quickly. With luck, long before this crazy woman decided to blow something up. I did offer to help. That's right, bestie. Now let's get a room. We aren't besties. Sure we are. Kuratsuchi was already making plans in her head. She was here, in Uzushio. One step closer to finding the maelstrom and having her rematch. She wouldn't give him the chance to run away this time. Scene change. Nestled comfortably within a tatami mat-laden sitting room, Naruto and Fu were sitting together sharing snacks at a low table, while across from them on the other side Koyuki and Cheyenne had a spread of mission folders all over the table space. In front of them the sliding doors of the room were wide open and they had a view of their new backyard, where a few of the rescued Uzumaki were tooling about with the garden as the sun was beginning to set, the sky illuminated in beautiful orange and red. Naruto was happy to crunch a rice cracker between her teeth, so bro gave us the go-ahead for this, right? Koyuki nods, yup, we're going to tour the continent holding the land of demons. With hard work and some luck, we're going to start building new allies in the area. Cheyenne sighs as she secretly wished she could spend more time with Naruto, but she realized that there was work to be done. A lot of work. My country will be little problem. Without the threat of the Morio, we can focus on other matters entirely. Like building relations with their neighbors. Naruto shrugs, eyes trailing over the yard and watching several birds that were flitting about the bushes. I can just spam clones and overrun the area. It'd take a few days, but I can raze all of our enemies to the ground. Rolling her eyes, Koyuki reaches across the table to flick Naruto in the forehead. No, bad kitty. I'm not a cat. Fu reached over and tugged at her ear. Bad kitty. I'm a bad kitty. Koyuki nodded as Fu seemed to have the girl under control. Our first objective is to bring the various daimyo on board with what we are trying to do. Creating legions of clones and running berserk would not be a good first impression. Fu raises a hand, so what are we trying to accomplish with this trip? More allies? Koyuki again nods with a smile, yes and no. Naruto isn't wrong, the world is changing and Uzushio is doing its best to keep up with it. That said, it's starting to feel like the time of ninja being the sole power structure is starting to wane. Koyuki could see the confusion on Fu and Naruto's faces and pointed at Fu specifically. Why be worried about rampaging Biju if there are normal humans strong enough to destroy villages and cities all by themselves? Why be concerned about lower-level ninja when we're starting to see tools and sophisticated weapons capable of keeping up with them? More power is entering the hands of normal everyday people and that's shifting the balance of power. Naruto actually settles down to think about that. Technological advancement is beginning to outstrip ninja ability, is that it? Yup. Koyuki sighed and sits back for a moment. It'll still take some time yet, but the fact is that there is a new world on the horizon. We certainly don't know what that'll look like just yet. No one does, but we can try to guide it. Koyuki accepted a cracker from Fu as she slid a folder in front of herself and opened it. Cheyenne was thoughtful as well and chimed in with her own musings. Our job for now is to try and unite my continent. Preferably all under the Uzushio banner. Failing that, at least half of the nations will suffice if we can at the least garner non-aggression pacts with the remainder. We're looking for peace, not building a totalitarian regime. Why worry about anyone else who doesn't want to be a part of Uzushio's alliance? Fu was curious and wasn't seeing why they should worry about nations that most likely didn't have military forces to worry about in the first place. Koyuki shrugs, getting at least half of the nations to agree to not start conflicts with Yuzu-related nations would be a major win. Whether they alone have power or not, we shouldn't need to be reminded that a lot of smaller targets can still cause a lot of trouble. Plus, even if they aren't a part of Uzushio, we can still make them into trade partners and new points for education and the like. Cheyenne perks up with that. That is a good point and we want to be thorough. Educating the masses is a major step towards changing how a country operates. Standardizing education has already seen results. She had gone over some of that paperwork with Koyuki, the pregnant daimyo, appreciating the extra hand. My country will certainly benefit from the new standards. Naruto shrugs and decides to put the heavy thinking away for now. I'm still okay with getting dirty and fighting our way through the country. I'll protect you both from any assholes who think they can get to you while you figure out the peace talks with other daimyo. Fu pulls Naruto into her lap with a bright smile. Oh, don't you worry so much. This'll be a combat-free trip, just you wait and see. Koyuki nods. That's the plan, and I'd like to get started soon. Think you can Haration us to the land of demons first thing tomorrow? Getting a thumbs up from Naruto, who was now completely distracted, Koyuki sighed and turned to Cheyenne. We should prepare as much as possible. Cheyenne stretched her arms above her head. Oh poo. I wanted more time alone with Naruto-sama. Didn't I see you leave a room with him and Hinata? No? Cheyenne saw the deadpan look on Koyuki's face and blushed heavily. She talked me into it. Koyuki sighed and reminded herself to grill Hinata for the details later. You really are taking your priestess duties seriously. It helps that they're so enjoyable. Maybe Cheyenne would be able to get a repeat before they left. Never hurt. Scene change. Not far away from the quartet, Hinata, Ino, and Onoka were relaxing together within the outdoor bath of the Uzumaki estate. With Naruto setting up seal-based Haration transport rings, they could now easily move between the two homes, much to their delight. Some of the Uzumaki survivors had joined them this evening. Still standoffish for most men outside of Naruto himself, the women had felt a bit bad as the Uzumaki leader had waved off from joining them this evening. He had claimed that he wanted to give them space to adjust and get used to being free, and didn't seem to listen as the women tried and failed to convince him that they didn't mind his attendance. They appreciated his concern, but it was a bit frustrating. The only boy of the group that had been returned, Suda, was playing not far away with one of the other girls. The older woman they had met before, Kikyo, was trying her best to keep the boy from being too spoiled, but it was a hard endeavor when all of the girls kept lavishing him with attention. Still, she watched on quietly with a satisfied smile on her face, body relaxed in the hot waters. One of the rescued women had joined the group tonight. Sayuri had her vibrant red hair cut short into a bob, but she was very much a civilian. Body soft with no muscle tone to speak of, but she was having fun getting information from the girls. I'm sorry we couldn't convince Lord Naruto to join us. We really don't have a problem with him being here. He doesn't expect that from us after all. Ino shrugs. He's trying to be considerate is all. Give him a few days, he'll come around. Ino personally thought that the girls were pushing themselves, and she thought Naruto did the right thing. There was a lot of trauma for these girls to unpack after all. Their treatment in Kumo was on another level of horrible. Besides, sometimes it's good to have just girl time. Floating over was a taller girl named Yuka with the same vibrant red hair as the others, though hers was done up in pigtails. Green Eyes taking in the group with a grin. I don't know, we need to increase Uzumaki numbers one way or another. And Naruto-sama is certainly easy on the eyes. Chuckling, Onoka shook her head. We actually have a few members that are pregnant at the moment. 3 in fact. Onoka smiled as Yuka and Sayuri both brightened up at that news, while in the distance they could see Kikyo seem to sit up a bit straighter. Eyes wide, Sayuri is all smiles. How far along are they? Do we know if they're having boys or girls yet? Who's pregnant already? Hinata giggles as the excited girl bounces in place while she leans against Ino while shaking her head. Koyuki, Kotohime and Tayuya are all pregnant. Sex of the children is unknown at the moment, but I think Kotohime and Koyuki are both around 4 or 5 months along now, right? Hinata turned to Ino, who nodded. Yeah, Tayuya is about 2 months along. Time really does fly when we have so much going on. Ino was happy for the girls, even if there was a bit of a betting pool going on about who would get knocked up next. Her money was on Hinata. No matter how careful the girl could be, accidents happened. Especially when they did it as much as Hinata did. The little rabbit. Hinata nudges the blonde with a grin. You're probably next, or Karen. Hinata's money was fully on Ino. Nah, I'm always careful. Not far from them all, a tired-looking Kikyo is picking up and dozing off Suda and is making for the exit. Yuka, Sayuri, we should be turning in soon. She was used to keeping track of her family. Old habits were hard to break. Sayuri sighed while Yuka stood and stretched. Mon, I'm trying not to be envious, but the thought of little ones running around has me all tingly. Yuka grinned and winked at the girls. Maybe one day, huh? Anoka waved as they left. Maybe one day. Personally, she wanted to be next, even if she had been keeping busy with work. Perhaps she could tie down Naruto for a day or two. But as the bath emptied out and they were left on their own, she turned to the others. So, our bounty mission. We have a plan yet? Hinata shook her head. Naruto wasn't wrong. Our target isn't that far from Iwa's border, so we need to be careful. All reports tell that they're keeping to a small, out-of-the-way village. Ino shrugs as she's back to leaning against her friend. Short of something going horribly wrong, we really don't have much to worry about. Between the three of us there aren't many that can hold a candle to us anymore. It helped that they regularly sparred with Naruto of all people. Lasting any length of time against him put one solidly into A or S class right away. The monster. Don't get a big head about things, Ino. Hinata cautioned her while they all relaxed together. Things never ended well when they got complacent. You need to woman up. We'll be fine. I think we all know I'm plenty woman for any task. Maybe you should cut back on those cinnamon rolls, all that sugar isn't healthy. Says you. Anoka broke both girls from their friendly bickering, laughing as she watched them. You both are just as much in love with each other as you are with Lord Naruto. Looking at each other for a moment, Hinata and Ino finally shrugged together while Ino answers for them. You aren't wrong. Life has been fun this way. Hinata agrees. She's like a weird sister I never knew I needed. You sure weren't calling me sis the other night. That was for Naruto, unless we need a reminder of the kinds of things you can get up to. Wanna trade notes? Maybe. Anoka sighed and flicked water their way. How about we get back on topic? We have a lot of planning to do. Hinata mentally makes a note to revisit this, but nods to Anoka's words all the same. You're correct, of course. We should endeavor to complete our mission quickly and return home. Ino agrees. With luck, taking down a few major bounties will increase Yuzu's reputation. Maybe by the time the next Chunin exams roll around, we'll have a team or two to send and scare the pants off of the competition. Anoka nods, so long as nothing goes wrong. Yup, which nothing will go wrong with us on the job. Ino had full confidence in their group. They would be fine. They trained much too hard to let some asshole get the better of them. Plus, Naruto would scold them if something bad happened. Or worse, withhold sexy time. Scene change, the Great Naruto Bridge. For many, a symbol of hope and new beginnings. An embrace by a leader willing to put his own life on the line to protect those that could not protect themselves. For others, it was a great marker, the sign that one was entering a land of new opportunities. On this overcast day for Itachi, the crowded bridge reminded him that it had been a long time since he had been around crowds worth of people. While his goal to hunt down his brother was starting here, he considered how best to go about that. Naruto would know where Sasuke was, but how to get to Naruto quickly without wasting time. Itachi supposed that simple plans were the best, and Naruto was fanatical about his people. Walking along and wondering if Sasuke was here at all, Itachi grinned a bit. With Tsunami made her way to his side, almost materializing from the crowd to match pace with him. Oh, hello again, back for another visit? Tsunami made a point to remember notable visitors, and by Naruto's word, Itachi was someone never to forget. Something like that. Is Naruto around? I need to see him. Tsunami hums at that, before shaking her head. Yuzuki-sama is very busy today, perhaps you can make lodging arrangements, and I can set up an appointment. Tsunami turned to him, only to see bright red pinwheel eyes. No need, I think I have a faster way to get his attention. Hypnotizing the woman to force Naruto to come out would be simple. Or should be. Itachi frowns as a seal flares up on Tsunami's forehead and alarms sound all around them. In the next breath, Tsunami is gone and replaced by an angry-looking Naruto, flanked by Sasuke and Sakura. Oh, you are here, little brother. Naruto reaches forward, grabbing the smug-looking Itachi by the front of his cloak. Bad move, asshole. With a thought, they are gone again, leaving the bridge behind. Caught flat-footed by a foot to the chest, Itachi is sent tumbling end over end before unceremoniously dropped on his ass. Kicking up dust and debris, Itachi is quick to make it back to his feet, observing the rocky terrain around them as Naruto and his team face off against him. Well, that was rude. Casually dusting himself off, he wondered if maybe he made a mistake. Naruto crossed his arms, chakra flaring. Don't touch my people. That kick had felt good. I only needed your attention, I meant her no harm. Which was the truth, Itachi wasn't one to kill needlessly. Now that you are here, we can talk. Well, you got my attention. Sage mode settling over him, Naruto grinned and bared sharpening canines. I hope you don't regret that. Having sat back and watched his older brother quietly, Sasuke finally stepped forward, holding a hand out in front of Naruto calmly. Can you hang back? Sasuke turned cool eyes to match Naruto's own. Please? Watching his friend and brother for a few moments, Naruto eventually nods and steps back with Sakura. Your call. This was Sasuke's business after all. If he wanted to go it alone, Naruto would let him. Sakura grunts at that, hands on her hips. This would go a lot faster if we just teamed up and beat the snot out of him together. Sakura didn't need to turn to see the look Naruto was sending her, so she instead gave him the finger without looking. Men and your code. So stupid. Naruto grinned at her. I'll remember that next time you and the girls shout something about girl code. Girl code is sacred and not to be trifled with. Says you. Yes, says me. Rolling his eyes as his teammates bicker, Sasuke turned to face Itachi fully. So, we finally get to see each other again. Sasuke tilted his head a bit. You look like shit. Itachi huffed, hands folded in his jacket sleeves. I wonder if you've improved at all since we last fought. Or has your weakness persisted? Sighing, Sasuke doesn't turn his eyes away from Itachi's. Coal black meeting coal black. I know, you know. Why you killed our family, why you spared me. Do we really need to continue this? Eyes going wide as chakra begins to circulate through his body, Itachi begins to grin widely. Nothing has changed. Uchiha blood is still on my hands. You know the only way that can be cleansed is through fire. Our fire. I must die. So either you put me down. Here Itachi's eyes again shift into the Sharingan, Sasuke doing the same, or I finish what I started. Sighing and wishing things could be different, Sasuke shakes his head slowly. I get it, you know. You've been holding in that guilt all this time, and the only one who can give you absolution is me. While I've always wanted to surpass you, killing you shouldn't be necessary. Sasuke had been thinking long and hard about some of the conversations he and Naruto had been having. About the idea that someone was manipulating the Uchiha and possible the world over. Seeing Itachi, he could believe it. Plus, rebuilding the clan would be a lot easier with two of us. It's a lot of work. Sakura couldn't help herself, pumping a fist into the air. You certainly weren't complaining the other night. Happily she high-fived to chuckling Naruto, while Sasuke and Itachi gave her bored looks. Sasuke turned back to his soon-to-be opponent. Sorry, where was I? You were gloating about rebuilding the clan. I'm not gloating, I just need some help is all. Itachi chuckled, shaking his head. I'm starting to think you've been lacking in your training. I really will kill you, you know that right? Sasuke took a few seconds to just watch his brother before nodding again. I know you will. And while I had promised to do this together with Naruto, perhaps I do need to do this alone. Here Sasuke looked at Naruto from over his shoulder. Sorry bro, no fight for you today. Yeah, kick his ass so we can head back, I've got teasing to do. Naruto had his arms crossed while his jacket fluttered in the wind, Sakura leaning against him while she gave Sasuke a thumbs up. Don't get too reckless. I'll step in if you do, and beat your ass instead. Chuckling, Sasuke turned back to focus fully on Itachi, though he directs his words to his girlfriend. How about when I win, I finally give in to your demands. That sets Sakura to flushing a deep crimson, while Naruto grins and pokes her in the cheek. I just heard something really interesting. What did you demand he do, huh? Wanna share with big bro Naruto? And never you mind. It's our business. Ours. Come on Sakura-chan, you know I'm gonna get it out of you. And no. Shut up. Stay away. It was too late, Naruto already had an arm over her shoulders and began to grill her about it while Itachi and Sasuke started to circle each other. Itachi was looking around but didn't see any landmarks that would place where they were. Curious. We're quite far from Uzushio. A bit dangerous, isn't that? Sasuke's mouth stretched into a grin as his eyes shifted into the Mangekyo. Beat me and I'll let you in on the secret. Seeing genuine surprise on Itachi's face, Sasuke's grin grew a bit more. Oh ho, I finally surprised you. How do you have those eyes? Oh don't worry. These are the least of the surprises that are in store for you. Sasuke was ready. It was time for a showdown with his brother. Omake Tsunade knew without a doubt that returning to Konoha was going to be a shit show. Never mind that they had been gone longer than they meant to thanks to Naruto and his whims, they were also returning with the lost Hanabi and Konohamaru, both of which were destined for some real discipline from their families. Mentally she had to remind herself that it wasn't her problem anymore, and she somehow hoped her day would end soon. So here she sat in her office, an angry Hayashi ranting and raving as Tsunade sat behind her desk and listened. Hanabi looked ready to crawl in a hole from her seated position in front of her desk, while Konohamaru looked bored out of his mind. Lucky brat. It's such a failure of our village's defenses that one of the most prominent clans that resides here could have their princess just waltz on out without anyone even knowing. Umbu didn't see her? The gate guards are absolutely useless. And you'd have me believe that the Uzumaki brat had nothing to do with this? He's the only one who could sneak in and out of the village like that and not be observed. He must have snuck her away for some plot. Perhaps to try and steal away yet another of my daughters. Tsunade sighs, starting to get bored of this. The kids made a mistake, Hayashi. But they're safe and home, isn't that what's important? What's important is that between our ninjas Umbu, Jonin, and hunters, none of them could track down a pair of children. Children? What does that say about our forces' readiness if literal children can outwit them? Hanabi looked up to Hayashi, holding up a hand slowly. Father, I'm the one who put together a plan to leave. You will stay quiet. I'm furious enough with you, and you do well not to add on to it. Hayashi glared his daughter into submission, internally happy when she turned her eyes back to her lap. You better not have picked up any bad habits from your older sister or from that moron of an Uzumaki. Kami, no wonder Hanabi ran off without telling you. You really could benefit from removing that huge tree from your ass, old man. Konohamaru couldn't help himself from speaking up. The Hyuga head was just way too loud and obnoxious. At least he knew now where scary big sis got it from. Turning red as he turned to face the boy that dared to speak up, Hayashi prepared to launch into a tirade only to pause as the office door is opened and a bored-looking Asuma entered. Raising a hand to Tsunade, the Jonin sensei took in the red-faced Hayashi, the brow-beaten Hanabi and the quietly defiant Konohamaru and internally grinned. Yo. You. Hayashi pointed a finger towards the formerly chain-smoking man. Most likely this boy's poor upbringing and lack of respect is your doing, isn't it? I'm not surprised by anyone from your clan anymore. Shrugging, Asuma knew staying calm would only piss off Hayashi more, so he did so with an internal smile. Well, the kid obviously is doing something correct. He did protect and save Hanabi if the report was accurate. Which he knew it would be, considering Tsunade herself wrote it. Standing stock still as he had not read the report about their time away, instead coming straight to the office of the Hokage after he had been given notice that his daughter had returned. Wooden and stiff, he turned to his suddenly very frightened daughter. Is that true? Frozen under her father's stare, Hanabi is unable to answer him right away. Once again, Konohamaru has no problem opening his mouth. Hanabi didn't do anything wrong. She just mentioned that she missed her sister and I egged her on to leave. It's my fault, not hers. A complete and utter lie, but Konohamaru could take the old geezer's anger. Hanabi apparently couldn't. You wanna yell at someone, yell at me, old goat. Hooking a thumb to his chest, Konohamaru missed the proud grin that etched itself on Asuma's face behind him. Hayashi however missed it, turning to Tsunade while pointing at the boy. Do you see what kind of influence this boy is? I want him punished as severely as he can be. Let him be treated as if he kidnapped her and toss him in a cell so deep we'll forget about him. Tuning out her father continuing to rant at the increasingly irritated-looking Hokage, Hanabi leaned towards Konohamaru to whisper to him, you don't need to take the blame. I can handle myself. Winking at her, Konohamaru shakes his head. It's the duty of a man to protect the princess. Don't worry about it, I got this. Flushing and confused, Hanabi again is struck by that odd warmth in her chest. Baka. Finally having enough, Tsunade was on her feet and dragging Hayashi by his shirt across her desk. That's it. You wanna go, old man? I'm tossing you out the window. Joining her, Asuma is quick to hold her by the forearms. Lady Tsunade. You can't toss him out the window. I could if you let me go. This is insanity. Let me go, you monster woman. Hayashi was suddenly several inches off the ground. Perhaps I spoke out of turn? No shit, asshole. Rolling his eyes and standing, Konohamaru takes Hanabi by the hand and starts for the door, dodging out of the way as big sis Shizune rushes by them to help Asuma prevent Tsunade from murdering Hayashi. Come on, Naruto used to tell me that after a big mission, he'd always go to Ichiraku's for a big meal to celebrate. Old man's ramen is really good and it'll have you feeling great in no time. Letting the boy pull her along, Hanabi tried and failed to fight down her blush. Okay. Konohamaru. She wouldn't fight it and let Konohamaru take her away from the craziness of that office. Back inside, Hayashi did see the children leave again. Most importantly, he saw his blushing daughter hand in hand with that boy. No. That baby stealer. Suddenly, all his anger came rushing back. That little bastard. Unhand my daughter. Tsunade was now having to fight against Asuma and Shizune, and was slowly winning. You leave those kids alone, you miserable old man. She was going to toss him into the monument, she swore it. Shizune sighed as she held her mentor around the middle. Was it too soon to let her know she and Kakashi would be moving soon? 'Cause after this, she needed a vacation.